Hello everyone, and welcome back once more to Anime Yay or Nay's Shonen Showdown. I am the AYoN.
I'm Hot for Justice.
I'm Yin&Jung.
I'm Chibi Noob.
And I'm NV Jitters.
And we're back for the second to last battle of the first round of contenders in the Shonen Showdown. Who won last week? What happened last week? I think it was, what was it? Bleach versus the Seven Deadly Sins, and Seven Deadly Sins took the spot for the quarterfinals.
Yep.
Unless I'm remembering everything correct.
By the slimmest of margins.
Skin of their teeth. Damn right. Anyway, we'll see how things go whenever they face off against Naruto in the quarterfinals. But let's see the last of our see who's up for one of the two last spots in the quarterfinal round. This week we have Inuyasha versus Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. So, we all watched this, correct? And everyone's caught up?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. So, first 3 episodes of each. Which one are we starting with? I believe we're starting with Inuyasha, right?
Yeah, I guess.
So, Inuyasha.
Yeah, we can choose.
First off, who's seen these before? I think I've seen Fullmetal Alchemist. I've seen a number of episodes of Inuyasha, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same.
Yeah.
I've seen like all of Fullmetal Alchemist and bits and pieces of Inuyasha, but it was so long ago I didn't remember that much.
So, I have seen, FMAB, I've only ever seen prior to watching these first 3 episodes. I only ever saw the first episode, so that's all I really had to go on for it. And then for Inuyasha, I'm actually kind of the opposite. I've seen it at least like 130 episodes of this one.
Oh, damn, this is your
Wow.
Naruto.
For you had Naruto, I had this. This was what I went into anime with, aside from Tokyo Mew Mew and Death Note, and Ouran High School Host Club. These were like, those 3 in Inuyasha were like the 4 things that I sort of started out with watching anime.
Gav had Hunter x Hunter.
No.
Nope, never mind. Envy, you're a late gamer, I think.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of these shows. I mean, I've obviously heard of both of them because they're very, very popular, but I've never seen them before until this tournament.
Okay, well, yeah, you may have the freshest perspective on this one.
Yeah, Gav.
I also watched Inuyasha. Like, whenever it was on Adult Swim, same with Fullmetal Alchemist, I'd kind of tune out when Fullmetal Alchemist is on, probably because of, like, the time of night. But I remember seeing, like, you know, some, like, episodes of the original, but, like, not in order or anything, just kind of, like, dispersed. But with Inuyasha, I remember actually watching Inuyasha and, like, playing, like, play pretend Inuyasha, when I was a kid, in, like, middle school, maybe. And then when I got to high school, I, like, had watched it with my friend. Not, like, the whole thing, but I, like, had started from, like, the beginning, and we got, like, a good ways through it. I couldn't tell you how far, but yeah, so I've definitely seen more Inuyasha than Fullmetal Alchemist, but yeah. But it's been like 10 years, so.
Well, hey, pretend playing Inuyasha is probably better than Naruto running in public. So. Before anyone asks, yes, I did do that. I did it in gym class, and I want to point out, I beat everybody on the track. They might have been avoiding me. I don't know. They maybe just didn't want to get close to me. I don't know.
People literally 2 years ago did that in front of Area 51.
I remember that.
Oh, yes, that was a thing. I remember the videos.
Never dies.
Yep. Anyway, let's talk, because you know who was doing some Naruto running a little bit, just a little bit. Inuyasha was.
Also Kagome for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, everyone has a hot second of it. Everyone has Naruto run at least once in their life, just to see if it actually works. I don't know if it does. Maybe it does. I don't know. Anywho, Inuyasha. What is Inuyasha about? Inuyasha is about Inuyasha. He is a dude, demon, not a demon, kind of a demon, with
half
dog ears,
demon.
and he blows up a temple with his fists to get a sacred jewel, which I guess either grants a wish or makes him super powerful or something like that. And he's running off, and he gets shot through the heart with an arrow by some chick named Kikyo, who, like, she just pins him to a tree with that thing, and he dies. So that's the end of Inuyasha. Roll credits. How about Fullmetal Alchemist? So Fullmetal Alchemist is about a guy named Ed. I'm kidding. We're going to go back. He's not dead yet, sort of. He's dead, but he isn't dead. It makes sense. He's a monster. Who cares? Anyway, then we meet Kagome, a girl in modern-day Japan. By the way, Inuyasha is like 500 years ago. I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah.
Feudal era Japan. Something like that. Shakespeare-y times, maybe. They use a lot of these and thous and ye. So, yeah,
I think they're just trying to do the equivalent of, like, an older version of Japanese to what, like, it would be for us for English. So
yeah, whole lot of ye up in that place. Yee.
Wow.
Anywho, modern day Japan, Kagome is a 15, 16-year-old high school student who is just hanging with her family. She's going to go to school, but the cat is... she lives at a shrine with a... I don't want to say con man priest grandfather, but, like, he's trying to sell people junk.
he's a charlatan.
A little bit, yeah. But yeah, so their cat gets stuck in the well, or near the well that's inside of a building at their place. And so they go looking for it. Kagome gets in front of the well, and it's so creepy. But then arms come out of the well and stuff and drag her in, so it's kind of like The Ring or something. And I'm like, wow, a lot of people are dying pretty quick in this show. But no, she's not dead. She's just being grabbed by a 6-armed centipede lady who is dragging her through a portal to what looks like hell. But yeah, she wakes up in the bottom of a well in ancient Japan and climbs out. And it's a isekai!
I was just about to say, it's kind of like an isekai.
A little bit. Portal fiction is a very common thing. Like, not just in, like written literature. It's just everywhere. Portal to another world.
It's not quite an isekai. Isekai usually implies it's like a different world. This is technically Japan. It's more like Kid in King Arthur's Court.
If anything, she pulled a Marty McFly and went back to the past.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Kid in King Arthur's Court because she's not dealing with her own parents. At the very least. This is a time travel story, though. I will give you that. Kid in King Arthur's Court is kind of an underrated movie, in my opinion. I don't know. It's got the kid from American Pie in it. And some other
only
people.
heard of the book.
God, who else was in
That's
that?
about
There's a
it.
bunch of people in there. Anywho, she climbs out of the well, goes into town, and she thinks it's like Japanese medieval times or something. But they think she's a demon of some kind, so they like tie her up and throw salt at her face or something. Because she found that Inuyasha guy in the forest. And she's like, what the hell? There's a dead guy on the tree that's supposed to be on my house's property, and he's got dog ears. I'm going to touch them ears, by the way. And then she gets, like, captured, and then tied up, and then has salt thrown in her face. Because I think it was salt. I don't know what it was.
It's salt.
Yeah. By some old lady with an eye patch who is very into this thee, thou, thee, yea, ooh, oldie speak. What are you doing in the forest of Inuyasha? They're kind of fun. A little annoying, but kind of fun. Anyway, then a centipede attacks and starts wrecking the place because it's looking for that sacred jewel. Because Kikyo, the person who killed Inuyasha, was burned a lot. 'Cause she was dying when she shot him, so she was burned, cremated with the jewel. And now the jewel is inside Kagome, who apparently looks like Kikyo. We're probably working with the reincarnation thing here. I don't know for sure, but it's more than likely.
Yeah, they mentioned it towards then.
Did they? I did not remember that.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
She is the reincarnation.
So
Didn't they say like she's like a descendant or something like that of her?
I
No,
mean, they
reincarnation.
live in the area. It looks like. So
No, they specifically said it. I'm with Chibi.
you could be
Yeah.
related and reincarnated.
I mean, I
What would be
feel
the
as
odds?
though we would have
know.
known if anyone related to them was a descendant, because we only really meet Kikyo and her sister Kaede,
Yeah.
who's the old lady. We never really mentioned them having a family other than each other.
I mean, it could have been someone else in the village.
I mean, it could have. We don't know.
Yeah. No one knows. No one knows. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Sure.
But, yeah, so the centipede attacks, and it's going after Kagome because she got the jewel inside of her, which gives her force powers or something like that. She runs into the forest and finds Inuyasha, who is now woken up from the death, and is like, hey, screw you, Kikyo. And she's like, I'm not Kikyo. Yeah, you're Kikyo. You smell like Kikyo. Wait, you don't smell like Kikyo. Who the hell are you? I told you I'm not Kikyo. I'm Kagome. This is going to be a great romance. Anyway, the centipede attacks, tries to kill them, and he's like, you got the sacred jewel in you. That's fucking weird. Hey, can you pull this arrow out so I can kill the centipede thing? Because, I mean, honestly, you're going to die otherwise. So... I think, wait, did the centipede already rip the jewel out of her and eat it?
Yes,
I think it did.
it
Yeah,
did.
it's turning into a super centipede monster, but, like, without skin. Because that denotes power, I guess. Anywho, she pulls the arrow out of his chest, and he just demolishes that centipede, because he's super strong. He didn't need to be full demon to be super strong. But yeah, so they gotta get the jewel out of the centipede, otherwise it's gonna grow back into a full centipede. They do it, it turns to dust, and then Inuyasha's like, give me the jewel. And they're like, oh shit, right. This is your whole deal, isn't it? We forgot about that. Well, most people didn't forget. Kagome never knew. Yeah, so they run around a little bit. They're chasing each other around. Inuyasha's just straight up trying to kill the heroine of the show. So he's the villain, I think, at this point. And yeah, they eventually get to a bridge. Old lady Kaede, is that it? I think.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. She has a magic necklace which she attaches to Inuyasha, and she says, "Hey Kagome, say a word to like control him." And she like remembers the dog ears, and she says, "Sit, boy," and he like his face just smashes into the bridge. And she just does it repeatedly until he like just breaks through the bridge and like flows down the river. And then they grab the jewel and go home. And now Inuyasha's just hanging out because they're like, hey, you have to protect this jewel now because you brought it here and magic stuff and your responsibility, not mine. And Inuyasha's like, I want to steal the thing, but I can't so long as I'm wearing this stupid necklace that keeps making me like faceplant constantly. So yeah, that's kind of their norm now. So they're kind of hanging out, and then Inuyasha and Kagome do not get along at all, despite the fact that I guess they have to work. They don't have to work together yet, but the crow shows up, wants the gem, the jewel, because it's evil, and then it zombifies a giant man and gets his gang of rogue samurai to kidnap Kagome and bring it to it, and then it just starts swinging his sword around to try to kill and take the jewel and all that. Kills a couple of its buddies. I guess it wasn't its buddies, but yeah, so that's all that's happening. Inuyasha comes looking for it. They find out that the man is a zombie. Then it takes the jewel, eats the jewel, grows really big, tries to eat a kid. They cut it down out of the sky. Kagome saves the kid from drowning. Meanwhile, the crow grows it, forms back together and flies off. And they're like, well, we gotta get this thing before it runs away with the jewel. So Kagome has to shoot it down with an arrow. She tried a couple times before. Didn't work. This time, they found a foot from the crow. And since all the parts are trying to get back to the crow, she attaches it to the arrow, so it's like a homing arrow now. Shoots the bow, arrow hits the crow and the jewel, kills the crow, and blows the jewel into 1,000 pieces, which fly off like Dragon Balls. And that sucks because this thing is very powerful, but even in like tiny little minuscule pieces, it's still a very dangerous thing for anyone to have. So now it's up to Kagome and Inuyasha to collect all the shards of this broken bead, and so that no one else can use them, because Kagome can sense the things and Inuyasha is strong, so I guess it's their responsibility now. And then a lady hair demon shows up after they had another fight, and she's like trying to get the jewel, but she also wants Inuyasha's hair because, oh, it's so luscious and gorgeous. She puppets people around with hair, gross.
Yep.
And she cuts people with razor sharp hair, gross.
Yep.
Yep.
It's like, it doesn't look bad, but like when you really like just start to think about it a little bit, it feels gross.
Yeah, I don't like having.
Oh, what was that?
I barely like having my own hair on me. Like, I don't even like other people's hair touching me.
What was that movie? We watched it in Anime Club with the drowned ghost thing. Do you guys remember that? And like,
was that Dark Water?
Yes. Yeah. And like they kept like it kept messing with like the taps and stuff, and like the hair came out of the spigot and they drank it. It was like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. So Kagome fell in the well, went back to the real world, and then Inuyasha is apparently immune to hair. So he's just jumping around. He can't see the stuff, but like, you know, there's like razor wires like right in front of his face that he can't see, but he's just like eating himself right through it. Doesn't even bug him. And yeah, I guess they're gonna fight a hair demon next. That's Inuyasha.
Oh wait, Kagome's in. Did we go over where Kagome was now?
She's home.
Oh yeah, she teleported
back
herself
home.
back to her own time at the end.
Yes, and then she took a bath.
Mm-hmm.
A very green bath.
A very green bath.
Very green bath, and then we got visuals of more hair, and I'm just like, oh no, not again.
I'm seeing a running theme with the hair. Anywho, what did we think of the plot? I think I'm starting us off for plot.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I think I'm a yay on the plot. I think, you know, overall this is we were mentioning isekai. It is a bit of an isekai, but at the same time it's like it's not an isekai that's like become oversaturated now. So I think I'm cool with that element. I think we got in right away to, well, at least by episode 3 we have our plot. They're gonna go and collect all the Dragon Balls, jewel shards, so that they can reform this ancient relic thing that has immense power. So you got your it's a bit MacGuffin-y because we don't know its full potential, I guess, other than just making demons stronger. But we've established characters and all that sort of stuff. We've got the places that we got and where we're going. We have an objective. I think overall, you know, and the character interactions kind of worked, I guess. So, plot, I'm going to give a yay. Yeah. Gav?
Yeah, I mean, I'd give it a yay as well. I think that the plot is, like, pretty well established, like, from the beginning, like, that, oh, Kagome is important, and so is Inuyasha, and now you can see that they're both gonna need to work together to get these sacred jewel shards back, each for their own, I guess, like, purpose, because Kagome is trying to, like, prevent anyone from using it, whereas Inuyasha is, like, the one who wants to use it. So, they got different goals. Well, kind of, like, end goals are different, but they're, like, main goal of, like, getting the sacred jewel shards, like, to, you know, do the sacred jewel and put it back together is, like, one and the same. So I think
Alliance
it's
of convenience kind of deal.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty strong. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I really liked the plot. I thought it felt like a journey the whole time. It was very exciting to me. It kind of felt like a mini movie, these 3 episodes. Like, it had an arc throughout. It had a very good beginning, middle, and end. Like, it felt complete, and yet I still want to see more. So I like that about it. So I liked the spirit of it. I liked the mythology of it. I liked how it felt character driven, but at the same time driven by the adventure itself. So I thought it really came together very well. Like, I found it very strongly written.
Cubes?
Sorry, my audio was cutting a little bit, so I wasn't sure if like Yin had said everything. I'm a yay on plot. So this, because I have seen this before, this is a little bit nostalgic for me, because I was like, ugh, I get to see the episodes again. But the thing is, it's been years, because last time I watched Inuyasha was in like 2008, so I'd kind of forgotten a good bit of it. I remembered episode 1 pretty well, because there were just some very memorable moments in it. Because it's really nice to just get introduced to the characters, like, all over again. Especially with a set of characters that's just, like, their interactions are kind of funny. Their interactions also get better as they go. But that's for character stuff. God, where was it going? So, again, nostalgia trip, with this. I didn't really remember the crowfoot part, but I did remember that the jewel shards were a thing. And I guess for me, it was just all kind of like, I really enjoyed sort of like how Yin was saying, like, the overall sort of like arcing plot right now, kind of like sort of like all, like, it does sort of feel like a movie. You're just like watching as things progress as you go through it. Which is honestly kind of nice, because, like, even after episode 3 ended, I'm like, oh, I still want to keep watching it. Gosh darn it, now I have to watch Fullmetal Alchemist now. No!
Damn you, Fullmetal Alchemist.
I mean, I did go on to watch Fullmetal Alchemist. And, you know, we'll talk about that later. But I wanted to keep watching Inuyasha while I was watching it, because it was just, like, not just so much for the nostalgia, but because it, like, it kind of really drew me in. Again, with the mythology and just everything that it has going on with it. I'm kind of rambling here right now, because my no thoughts, head empty, brain is tired. So, again, my vote is a yay.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I heard of the show before. I knew of Inuyasha as a character, but I basically knew nothing about the actual premise of the show. I just know that Inuyasha and Kagome are like one of the most beloved anime pairings of all time. But obviously, that's kind of a spoiler for the end game of the show. But whatever. But I was actually surprised with all the somewhat isekai elements. I didn't expect the show to actually take the girl back to the past to like the fantasy feudal Japan, and I kind of liked that. I also liked the overall premise of the show. There were some things that surprised me about the characters, which I'll get into in the character segment. And overall, my vote's a yay. My only question, though, is that I looked up the show episode count. It has like over 150 episodes. Like, how did they stretch out the plot to that many episodes?
Lots of monsters?
The manga's... Yeah, lots of monsters of the week. They added in a couple different things with, like, a separate love interest kind of thing. As well as just, like, there were a lot of filler bits. The manga's also just really long.
Plus, I mean, how many shards did that thing break into? That thing looked like...
A lot.
It broke into hundreds.
Yeah. Like, even if you did, like, one episode per shard, it's still like, yeah, you're gonna have at least 100 episodes here.
Yeah. Like, there were just a lot of shards that it broke up into, so there's just, like, a lot of material that they can cover. And the thing is, like, they have a whole world to, like, build out around it, and explore, so they really can do a lot and have, like, a lot of filler bits if they really wanted to.
Well, I guess that answers my question. And yeah, my vote's still a yay. I was just curious on why it was like over 100 episodes and not like 50 episodes or something like that.
I mean, the manga ran for quite a long time, from what I can remember. So
Dragon Ball was pretty lengthy. They only had 7 things to find.
yeah.
It's the journey, not the destination. But it looks like the journey seems to be an overall yay so far. So, yeah, looking like a yay for plot. How we feeling about the characters in this plot? Gav, take us away.
Okay. So characters, right. You got Kagome, who's I guess she just turned like 15 or whatever.
Yep.
So you got your like young high school girl, just, you know, stereotypical kind of like, oh, I don't even know if it's stereotypical, just like...
Is she in high school or middle school? She's 15.
Yeah, I turned 15 in high school.
Would that be a first year?
No, because they do it 3 years for high school, 3 years for middle school. And I always remember, like, 16's the age for, like, a high school freshman in Japan.
I don't know. Good question.
Could be either. For us, it'd be, like, freshman, maybe a sophomore in high school.
Oh, yeah, no. I know that.
Anyway, she's young. But she just turned 15. And she's just, like, you know, just a girl at first. Just, like, kind of uninterested in, like, her grandpa's, like, look at all this history that surrounds us every day, and she's not really into it. But she gets, you know, when she gets into, like, the world of, like, I guess, feudal Japan, I think is what we're dealing with. She, like, you know, adapts pretty quickly to, like, the lifestyle there. Like, she's very, I guess, flexible when it comes to that kind of stuff, at least so it seems. So we got, like, a flexible character there. You think at first that she might be, like, the kind of, like, person who seems a bit annoying, but, like, she isn't all that bad, to be honest. Like, I think she's, like, a pretty solid character, and I like her interactions with Inuyasha a lot. Like, the way her and Inuyasha, with his, like, hot-headedness, and his, like, ego, and, like, how they, like, bounce off of each other and, like, get into, like, all these kinds of arguments and stuff. Like, I think it's a lot of fun. So I really like those two as characters, like, especially together. They work really well. And Kaede is, she's good, especially for, like, as a kind of, like, God, what's the word? I'm like, mentor. Like, a mentor-ish type character. She does, like, a good job, like, providing, like, support to, like, the main characters. And I think she's, like, the way she speaks is a little funny, and it took me a while to get used to it. But, yeah, ye, thou, thy. But she was, like, a good support character and, like, gives you lots of, like, background for what you need, to understand, like, what's going on. So, yeah, and I mean, those are, like, the 3 main characters that we get, so those are the only ones I'm gonna really go into, but I like them all, so I'd say yay for characters.
Yeah, I would also definitely give the characters a yay. I really liked the 2 main characters and how they interacted. Something that I did like about Kagome was that, you know, she felt like an average girl, but at the same time you could see these bits and pieces of, like, leadership in her. Like, with, I don't know who they were, that group in the 2nd episode, where she got kidnapped by them, you could see a little bit. Yeah, the bandits. You could see a little bit going in with that, like, how she reacted to that situation. And then when she saved the little boy in the river, like, you can really see hints that she'll be a hero and that she was a hero in the previous life. And I think that it's very interesting how, like, her previous life interacts with her current one in terms of, like, shooting the bow and arrow and all that, and, like, her ingenuity in certain ways. Even if she can't shoot the bow and arrow, she figures out a different way of doing it. So I'm interested to see more of, like, how her previous life leaks into this life and how she deals with that. And it also makes her relationship with Inuyasha really interesting, because he's kind of like, well, you're not, what was her name? Kikyo. You're not like Kikyo or whatever, but I can see their relationship like developing into something else later on. And I think it's really interesting the way it is right now, with their kind of begrudging allyship going on. And I found Inuyasha pretty interesting too. I liked his personality. He has a goal of his own. So yeah, I think they're both very interesting. I thought the side characters, you know, did a good job of serving their purpose as well. Like, I liked the old lady. So overall, I think the characters were really strong. I'd give them a yay.
I'm also a yay for characters. I'm not going to repeat too much of what was already said, because I pretty much agree with all of it. I will say that I definitely am very into, like, the different monsters, though, that they're introducing. I'm just considering, like, those characters, because in the first episode, we got the centipede lady. She's just real interesting, mostly just because, like, it's a good way to sort of, like, introduce us to sort of the concept of, like, what we're going to be dealing with. For most of the plot is all these other monsters just trying to get the sacred jewel. In the second episode, we had, like, the leader of the bandits, who apparently something was very, very wrong with this man for, I guess, a while. But it turns out he was dead, because a crow had burrowed itself in his chest and had eaten his heart and had basically settled itself in there. So it was being controlled by the crow demon. So that was also an interesting thing. The one, I would say, like, monster or antagonist that we actually really have so far is Yura, who is the hair demon. She seems kind of interesting, you know. She's just fun. She's a fun character. I honestly, like, I feel like I remember that we get to see more of her, but we're only judging these 3 episodes, but I'm enjoying it so far for the characters. So yeah, yay.
Yeah, I mean, I overall, I'm kind of a yay with the characters. I mean, as far as, you know, Kagome herself, I mean, I think she's pretty good. I mean, she probably is reacting to the situation at hand probably better than any of us would have if we got, you know, transported, you know, hundreds of years in the past and you have to deal with all that shit. The biggest surprise for me was Inuyasha himself, because, again, I basically knew nothing about the show. I didn't realize he was going to act somewhat villainous / be dickish throughout most of the show. I like at the beginning of the show when, you know, he's, you know, trying to steal the jewel, I'm looking, wait, he's kind of a villain? Like, I didn't expect that, so that kind of surprised me, and I liked Kaide and the rest of the villagers. So yeah, mainly for Inuyasha's surprising character, I'll give it a yay.
So, if a tsundere and another tsundere fall in love with each other, how many episodes will it take before they, you know what?
167. How else?
Hey, shorter than Naruto. Yeah. I think I'm a yay here too. I definitely thought that Kagome worked, Inuyasha worked. I think everything worked. I actually was kind of reminded a little bit of Yu Yu Hakusho a little bit.
Oh yeah, with Keiko and the main character. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Yusuke and Inuyasha kind of had like a similar. I get the sense that, you know, they say he's like a half demon. I'm willing to bet that's one of those things where it's like, oh, you're not accepted among people, you're also not accepted among demons kind of deal. So it's like,
yep.
Yeah, I feel like I'm inferring here, but I feel like that's probably where they're coming at with why he's kind of a loner dick a little bit.
Yeah.
At least that's what I'm thinking.
You're 100% right.
Well, hey, I can be intuitive sometimes. So yeah, I think I do like that. I think like I think all the characters seem to work off each other very well. I've been debating on whether I should bring this up during dubbing or right now for characters, but like, okay, so I get why these and thous and ye and yada yada is being used by like all the villagers. Why does Inuyasha not speak that way?
Because I think his personality is so, like, casual.
But he's
and, like,
from that time, and like, okay.
But it would be weird if he did.
This is like a thing that I'm just like, at a certain point in English, we stopped using thou and whatnot, and we started using you, right? I don't know when that was, but there was a point where they're transitioned over. He doesn't use ye or any of those like oldie words. He is constantly using like the modern vernacular.
Because he's supposed to be kind of like have an attitude and stuff. Why would he sound formal, you know?
I'm just saying, back in the day, if all you ever learned was formal speak, even when you're being, like, trying to have an attitude, Faust would still have an attitude with... I think
you're too hard. Because, like, they wouldn't even say ye and thou in Japanese anyway.
I get it. It's probably, like, what the old honorifics or whatever else
Yeah, it was just, like...
I know it's a translation thing.
It's trying to say, like, you're being more formal, you know?
I get that.
So...
But you think people would talk like us if they were, like, Cockney back in Shakespeare time?
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna say a little thing here. I think it's more just because he's a main character. I think
know
they
that's
want the
why
audience
it just bugs
to actually
me.
like be able to understand him and like, you know, kind of be able to relate to him a little more, because I think if you put ye's and these and thous in his mouth, it's gonna be weird. Also lip flaps, let's be real here.
I don't think there's that much
like,
of a problem for lip flaps when you're choosing between you and ye. It's the same single flap.
I also just feel like with the voice that they gave him, I don't feel like it would fit.
No, it's not a problem. It's just kind of weird. I'm just kind of like, maybe I should have brought it up in world building. I don't know. Either way,
I don't know.
Characters,
it's just a thing. There are a lot of other characters who do not use that way of speaking in this series. I will say that in English.
Okay.
I feel like maybe it's a dubbing thing too, because they probably didn't speak that way in the Japanese.
Maybe
version.
they did. We won't know. Yeah, but I'm just putting it out there, getting it out of the way that it was a bit of a weirdness for me, but you know, characters are still a yay for me. I think I liked everybody, and I think they all worked. And it sounds like overall it's a yay for the characters. I mentioned world building. Let's talk world building. Yin, let's do some world building.
World building. I think the world building was really good. I mean, she's thrown into this world, so of course we don't know anything right off the bat, but I feel like they set everything up very well, and the way that they kind of feed us information all makes sense. I feel like the world feels pretty rich and solid. I mean, I think it's an interesting world. I think there's a good contrast between our world and this world of the past. And they do have some interesting elements with the reincarnation. I really appreciated the more Japanese mythological creatures. I thought those were really interesting. So yeah, I'd say overall I'd give the world building a yay.
I also would give it a yay. It's just a real interesting just sort of setting that they put us in. It honestly just like, I feel like they sort of like really went and like they kind of just like get you in there and basically are like, sorry, tongue can't work, also can't speak. I
don't think they had that problem in the show.
No, I mean, I don't think they did.
Other than all the yees.
It's just, it like definitely like, it makes you feel like you're in that place in time. also just like, I guess the mechanics a little bit are sort of interesting because she falls down a well, which is like, you fall down a hole and it's like, where do you go sometimes if there's no bottom? So I guess this is one place that you could end up. I also just really, and I guess this is more like a question that I have in the back of my head, like, if this is more of a world of the past and not just like an alternate sort of kind of world, like, where are all the demons now? That's really the only question that I have, especially because we have all these monsters and demons and half demons obviously running around. Where did they go? And like, why aren't they really a threat anymore? Like, are they just smarter? Are they blending in with society? Like, I kind of want to know a little bit more of that, mostly just because I'm already sort of familiar with this world. So I guess I want to know a little bit more about it, just like a little more of like outside like our regular wheelhouse. But anyway, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I'm kind of a yay too. I like like I said before, I like the twist of, you know, going back to the past. I didn't expect that going in, and I liked how the stuff that the grandfather was saying at the beginning of the first episode and the granddaughter thought was just, you know, all bullshit. It turns out, no, it's all true, and it's all based on, I guess, stuff that happened in legend, or what happened in that world back then. So I liked that. And yeah, I do think it is, I mean, it is a MacGuffin, the jewel, you know, trying to, you know, use it to get a wish granted. But I think I think it is a neat item that to build your world off of, and I like the different monsters and different creatures that she fights. So yeah, I am interested to see what else the world of Inuyasha has, especially since she apparently can go back and forth to the present and the past through the mythical hole in the ground. So I'll give it a yay.
Okay, so theory time.
yes.
Why are there not demons in modern Japan? So, okay, I'm basing this off of absolutely nothing. But no, I kind of. So, do you guys remember in Avatar how the spirit world and the human world are separate because they like divided them and closed them off from each other?
Yeah.
What if at some point, possibly through a magic wish-granting jewel, they separated the demons and the humans from each other into separate worlds? And then, when they had nothing left to fight over, the demons formed some sort of bureaucratic hierarchy for the afterlife. And then,
What?
years later...
First, but now what?
Years later, a kid named Yusuke gets hit by a car, and then
Oh my god.
I'm just saying, both shows have canine-related, long white-haired individuals.
Oh,
Is that all you're basing
Oh, I
this
know
on?
exactly what you're talking about.
You damn right you know what I'm talking about. Anywho, I'm kind of a softish yay, maybe a meh even on some of the world building. I think it's cool that we are going to ancient Japan and doing that sort of stuff and like looking into this kind of thing. The jewel's a little MacGuffin-y, which I'm sometimes I'm like kind of like about. Like give it a little more purpose. Like give it a purpose, but you know, not. I think like a lot of stuff is like has to be inferred from things. Not a lot is explained, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like I don't think it's a bad thing. And I'm definitely interested in this world. I just almost wish I knew a little bit more about it. Got a little bit more out of the beginning to, and maybe some of this is character stuff. Like, what is a half-demon? How does that happen? I feel like I have a theory of how that happens. But, you know, I know where babies come from. You know,
Yes.
there's a bird involved and some bees.
Oh,
and I'm thinking the
sure.
bird brings the baby in, like, a little thing that's carried, it's like a stork or something,
Oh my
and
God.
then, but, you know, so I get that. So it's probably a demon stork. or part demon story, it raises a lot of questions, but won't be answered right away. Regardless, this is Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm kidding. I threw you for a loop there, didn't I? Yeah, I'm gonna say a soft yay. I think this is good stuff. It's got a lot of more potential for like a larger world. I just wanted to see a little bit more of it, I think, and kind of like, I guess, like, where did the jewel come from? Stuff like that. So yeah, soft yay for me.
Yeah, I never really thought about, like, that kind of stuff before, like, with the whole, where are the demons now? And, like, why is there a well that, like, drops to the past / other world? Like, whatever it is. And... yeah, I guess I never really thought about those things before while watching it, just because I liked what I was seeing. So I was like, oh, I'm not gonna question it. But yeah, it's like, it's a little confusing. And I can't remember if it goes into more detail later because it's been way too long. But
I believe it does.
I don't know.
At some point. I know more things get explained and, like, they build out the world and the different creatures and things like that.
Oh, yeah, I know they build out more in, like, the demon world. It's like that.
So there is a demon world.
No, I'm just calling it that, like the feudal Japan
Mm-hmm.
demon
It's
world.
Like, giving
place.
credence to my theories, that's all I'm saying.
Alright, fine. The well world, I'll call it.
It's just feudal Japan, I think.
Yeah, whatever it is that I know they go into, like, more exploring, like, there, because there's things and characters yet to come and be revealed and stuff, but, yeah, I don't know, I guess I'd give it, like, a soft yay, because there's still a lot that we don't know that's not really explained, at least in these first 3 episodes, so.
Yeah. Is that everybody?
Yeah.
I think that was everybody, right?
Yeah.
So that seems
Yeah.
like a yay overall for world building. Where are we moving on to next? Art and animation. Chibi, you
Yep.
taking this one? Take this one.
That is me. Yes. So, I actually really like the animation in this. The original animation series came out back in 2000. So it's been 20 years since it came out. I still feel like it holds up pretty well. I feel like the animation's done pretty well. Like, I don't... like, it. Obviously, it's not like today's animation, but for the early 2000s, it's pretty good. Character design... I like all the character designs for this. Like, they have all the traditional clothes for everyone who's from the past, and then you got Kagome, who's the stark contrast because she's in her school uniform, and that's how we see her for pretty much all of the series. And I really do like the creature designs in this. They're all pretty cool. Like the centipede lady and the crow, and Yura's character design's also pretty cool. I don't have bad things to say. I mean...
No, you don't need bad things. You don't need to say bad things.
No, I don't need to say bad things. But usually it's like, I want to pull something out here just to, you know, like, maybe, like, say, oh, this is a critique, but no, I don't have anything bad to say, so there you go. It's yay.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines. I mean, yeah, for a show that's over 20 years old now, I still think it does hold up pretty well, mainly because I like the overall feel and tone of the world and its design of the world. And obviously, it's something that we've seen before, feudal Japan, but I think it does a good enough job to, you know, still make it stand out in its own way. And I do like the designs. I mean, obviously, Inuyasha's design is iconic at this point. I mean, people still dress up as him all the time at conventions, and yeah, and the monsters that we've seen so far, they're pretty cool looking, especially the chick with the hair. I like her. It's cool looking, that how she controls people with her hair, really, really creepy and disgusting when you think about it for a few minutes. But yeah, I overall I do like the art and animation of the world, so I give it a yay.
Yeah, I think I'm an overall yay here too. You're right. For something that came out that's like started in like 2000, pretty solid. I was kind of expecting to see some like the things that we've seen in some other shows, like the quick little animation tricks to kind of like hide that you had to spread your budget a little bit thin, but we didn't really see that a whole lot. It was very smooth overall. Like I was not really expecting this thing to have come out in 2000. I was actually expecting this to be like from maybe 2007 or a little bit later. But yeah, so I got to give them a lot of points for that. Character design, yeah, like some people, like you guys are saying, it's like they solid. The costumes all work. Like everyone kind of has like these period piece clothes, and yet they all seem unique to them specifically, which works. The designs for the monsters so far, from the ones that we've seen, interesting, cool to look at. Centipede Lady was very cool. The Crow was a little less cool, but I think that was just because it was very weak. At least in comparison, I think. So, I don't really have a whole lot to complain about here. So, yeah, give it a yay.
Yeah, I think that I'd give character design and animation a yay. I like all the outfits that you get to see throughout the anime. Like Inuyasha's outfit and Kikyo's, and then even Kagome's like, differentiated like look with her school uniform. And the demons are cool as hell. No pun intended.
I don't know if there is a hell here or a demon world yet. Just saying.
But they're very cool. And yeah, the animation's very nice for like early 2000s. Like, you would not expect to see something like look that clean, but it is. So yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add to what everyone else said. It's a yay for me too. I think the animation, especially during like fight scenes or moments where something unusual or magical is happening, look really good. Like, I remember the part where she first fell down the well with the lady, the centipede lady. It looked really awesome. So I think even though it was in 2000, I mean, some of those animation scenes to me looked more modern, or like they could rival some modern ones. So I think they did a really good job with that, and the character designs and especially the monster designs looked really good. So yay.
Well, it's sounding like a overall yay for art and animation. Let's talk sounds and dubbing. Envy.
Yeah, as far as the sound and the music, I think the music fits the world well, and overall, I like the dubbing of the show. I like Inuyasha's voice a lot. I think it kind of fits his brashness. One thing that I did kind of notice, and this is not going to probably make much sense, but like even though it came out in like 2000 in 2000, I honestly feel like the dubbing still feel and sounds old school from like the 80s and 90s, and that may seem like a weird thing to say, but like I kind of felt like with the inflections and like the direction, it still felt like an old school type of dub, which I did like in its own weird, charming way. But yeah, I really don't have much to say otherwise. There was some funny lines, and I'm pretty sure the sit boy is like a running joke that's going to be throughout the entire series. Just whenever he pisses off Kagome, she's just like, sit boy, damn it. So yeah, I liked that. So yeah, overall I was a yay.
Yeah, I kind of I hear what you're saying with the dubbing feels like halfway to modern and old school. I think this came out in 2000. I don't know when it started getting dubbed. It was probably like a year or two later. I know that Bebop, which is like the gold standard for dubbing, came out. The show was made in '98, so it came out around 2000 here, which is about when Adult Swim started really like happening.
Yeah.
So this would have been dubbed like not long after Bebop. So you would have started to see a bit of a higher standard going into a lot of anime dubbing, but at the same time, some of the older stuff still kind of ringing true from like the 80s and 90s. I think you're right. In some degrees that can be good, and in some degrees it can't be as much. Like, I think the main cast worked well. Some of the other cast I was kind of like on. And again, maybe it's the inconsistency with the language for the people who are all there at the same time. Yee, I don't know. Yeah. Some lines are really good. Some lines were kind of, I don't know. I was kind of whatever on them. I think the music actually worked pretty well, especially like for like some of they had like this really good horn section that kept coming in for like some of the bigger fight scenes and set pieces that they had going on that I think really like it added to the scenes pretty well. So yeah, other than one or two mild complaints here and there with the dubbing, I think I'd give this a yay.
Yeah, I really liked the voices and the sound in this. I thought like I liked Inuyasha's voice, like I thought was very fitting for him. Was like he sounded very like angsty, like in a like this is like I am hot-headed. This is me. Richard Ian Cox was Inuyasha, and he did a good job at being Inuyasha. And Kagume's voice was alright too. I do agree with where it sounded kind of like old school at like some points. But like I think that's fitting because it still is kind of old school. So I don't know, but I enjoyed the voices anyway. I really liked the score, like the music was really nice, like and the sound effects were really nice. So I'd give it a yay.
Yeah, like everybody else said, I liked the voices overall. I thought the dubbing was pretty solid, mostly because I felt like they all fit their characters. The Yi and Thou stuff didn't actually bother me that much. I thought it sounded fine, especially because it was used mostly for like the old lady, so her sounding kind of old-fashioned made a little bit more sense. Yeah, overall, I'd say it was pretty good. I don't really remember that much about the score or anything, but at least in terms of the dubbing, I liked it pretty well. I thought it fit.
I'm a yay for sound and dubbing. The score's real good. It's real pretty. Fight scenes got some good music. As far as for the dubbing is concerned, I really liked most of the voices that were done by the cast. The only real complaint even that I really have with the dubbing is like when we're getting that little intro sequence from Kagome and she's just doing a voiceover, the voiceover that we got from Monica's story. So it was just a little too deep at that one section. That one section was like one of the only things where she like did that like sort of lower pitched voice. Aside from that, like I was always more used to her voice being a bit higher pitched. From when I watched it when I was much younger. So that's what I was expecting. And then I got that and I was like, this is a little weird. I don't remember it sounding like this. And then she went into her higher pitched voice later on in the episode. I was like, oh, okay, this is where it is. Ah, good. Good. But yeah, I'd give it a yay.
Sounds like an overall yay for sound and dubbing, but there's other kind of sounds and whatnot. Let's talk openings and endings. I think I'm leading this one off, right? A bit of a meh here. I didn't think they were bad, but I also didn't think like they were really anything to write home about. We should point out that the Netflix, for whatever reason, the all the visuals for the intro are correct, but I think they just put the score over the visuals because it's not the actual theme song from the show.
Yeah, I had
to
look up the theme song separately and share it with everyone. Maybe it was a copyright thing or something like that, but
probably. I kind of wanted to do that with Naruto because that is not the dub opening, but at the same time, it was an opening, and I think this is a case where we were allowed to like look elsewhere because like that is clearly not an opening song.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it feels like something I would have heard a couple times. At the same time, it doesn't really hit me very much. I don't even think I remembered what the song was for the ending. So, oh god, wait, maybe I'm a soft nay on this. I don't know. No, you know what? The first one wasn't bad. It's just, I'm not... You know what? I can't say that I was hurt by it at all, but it also didn't do anything for me, so yeah, I'm gonna say a meh.
I didn't really care for the opening. Like, I prefer the little, like, Netflix, like, opening thing that they had going on, to be honest. But, yeah, I didn't really care for the opening. Especially because I think they still had the sound effects of, like, the fighting, like, underneath the music.
Weird, right?
Which was, yeah, it was a little off-putting. But I did like the ending. Like, the ending I remember pretty well from when I was younger, and I always had enjoyed it, so I guess I'm, like, a soft yay, just because I really like the ending.
I'm probably gonna go kind of meh on it. I don't remember the ending that well. I think it had some interesting visuals. I could be wrong, but it was the one that kind of had like the Ferris wheel thing going on. Was that?
I don't even remember Ferris
wheel.
I
think the imagery was kind of cool.
Did I blank out for this?
You might have. I don't know. I wasn't there. But I think the imagery was kind of cool, but the song didn't really strike me as anything special, so I was kind of like meh on the ending, but it was kind of nice. And then the opening I thought was pretty good, but it didn't really wow me either. I actually thought the visuals were a little bit boring in the opening. Though the song was kind of nice. It was kind of like one of those sort of, I don't know, it almost feels like an old school anime song, and it's kind of cute, I guess, but not exactly my favorite anime openings. So I'd give it a meh. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great to me, so.
So I'm like a soft yay on the opening and ending. So I went and watched the opening from that link NB sent all of us, and I immediately started getting flashbacks because I'm like, oh, I remember this very clearly. But I'd completely forgotten about it because I haven't seen the show in years, and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm in middle school again, listening to this song. And the visuals, I actually remembered a lot of the visuals for the opening, so I was like, oh yeah, all of this. As far as the ending was concerned, it kind of like, I'd completely forgotten about it because I feel like when it came to this show, I had like certain openings and endings that I really liked. So this was one of the ones that I didn't really remember, and I honestly can't really remember it even now, talking about it, but the ending visuals were kind of nice. So I'm a soft yay.
So I have heard like the first 10 seconds of the opening song in the past, and honestly I think that's where the the song kind of peaks for me. Just the screaming at the top of your lungs, "I can change the world," that kind of stuff.
I feel like that's the only thing I remember from it.
Strong
opening.
Yeah. The rest of the song I thought was okay, but I did like the visuals. I did like, it's showing other characters we'll meet down the line and showing a bunch of action. I'll be completely honest, I kind of don't remember much of the ED. I think I remember liking the visuals and the song okay, but again, it didn't really stand out to me, so kind of a meh on this one. I mean, the opening is fine, and just go next time you're on a cliff, just scream that at the top of your lungs, "I will change the world." And see if anybody gets the reference.
Anytime you are on top of a cliff or a mountain, you gotta throw both hands in the air and scream out, "Drago!" No one else a Rocky IV fan?
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
If I could change, you could change.
Everyone could change.
Oh.
God, that movie is so terrible and yet so wonderful. I have to go home and watch it. I think I have all the Rocky movies on DVD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like one of those Walmart 4-packs or something.
Ah.
I know there were 2 or 3 more after that, but come on, after Rocky IV, we were all like, this is the peak of the series. Then you got Creed. Creed was good. But yeah, it sounds like for this, it's an overall kind of a meh for these openings and endings. Gav, why don't you take us into our final thoughts on this?
Okay. I mean, after watching it the other day, I just kept wanting to keep watching it. I was like, oh man, we gotta stop at after episode 3. What's up with that?
I do it to torture you guys a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to watch more. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll have to find something else to do. But, yeah, I mean, I really like Inuyasha, and I think it's a good first, couple of episodes, and I would recommend, it to people. I think you should definitely give it a chance if, it's, if you're looking for a more, classic, anime, good shonen, this is one to go with. So, yay.
Yeah, I would definitely give it a yay as well. I was really surprised by it because I only ever saw some episodes randomly in the middle of the show before. I had never seen it from the beginning, and I had certainly never seen the first few episodes. But I actually found them really engaging. It was something that I could definitely see myself watching more of. I actually think out of all the anime that we watched this so far, I think this one was one of the ones that had some of the strongest first episodes. In terms of writing and the way that things progressed, I think it's up there. So I would definitely continue watching, so I'd give it a yay in this.
I will also, unsurprisingly, give it a yay. For me, I think, rewatching the first 3 episodes, I was like, ugh, I really want to keep going, because it's just so good, and I'm feeling so nostalgic right now, and I forgot how much I actually really love this show, that I honestly kind of shocked myself a little bit, because I kind of remember being like, oh yeah, this is a show that I like, and I remember liking it when I was younger, but I probably may or may not think the same thing about it now that I'm older, and I was actually really surprised that I am a lot more interested in it now than I actually remember being when I was 13. So yeah, I would definitely continue watching more of this. I'm giving it a yay.
I would definitely at least watch episode 4 to see how they would defeat the hair monster, hair woman, if they do beat her in the next episode. But yeah, I am interested in the world, and I think I would definitely consider watching more of it to see how the relationship between the two of them progress, and how they are going around trying to find all the missing shards. So yeah, I'm kind of a soft yay.
I think I'm a yay too. I think this like you guys were saying, these episodes do work for setting up your premise and your characters pretty well, and setting you up for like a good journey, I think. And that's, like we said earlier, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And the journey is how do you get all these shards and do all that kind of stuff. And I'm interested to see where this goes. And I think that the fact that like a lot of episode 3s tend to leave us on a cliffhanger is definitely helpful, at least in this tournament. So, yeah, I think I'm an overall yay as well. I'd be interested in seeing what's gonna come next with this. So it seems like an overall, yay. Let's watch more of this for final thoughts. But the determining factor of whether we will be watching more of this for the tournament is going to be how it fares against our other contender this week, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Let's
Shonen
talk.
to end all shonen.
Wow, I didn't know it had that title.
It's the number one
This came out
rated
in
series
2000.
of all. It's the number one rated series of all time on Mal.
Okay, that is one thing, but to say it's the shonen that ends all shonen, there have been shonen that came out after 2009.
I
as far
know.
as I'm aware. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just joking.
That's all. Yeah. No, yeah. So this is a fairly well-known series at this point. This is the second version, not dissimilar to Hunter x Hunter. We're watching the more recent version of this because the majority of people, I think, seem to claim that this is the better version, as it more closely follows the manga. Both versions are available on Netflix, and I kind of am interested to see what the original version would be, because I hadn't seen that one all the way through.
Yeah, me too, if I'm going to be very honest.
If we have time later.
After watching these episodes.
Perhaps we'll take a look. But let's talk about these episodes and what happens. So, there's some dude in a big city who can freeze and boil people, which is just terrifying when you think about the implications of what that does to the body. Who is running around freezing and boiling people. But he is confronted by a blonde midget and a dude in a suit of armor. And they are the Fullmetal Alchemist and the not Fullmetal Alchemist Alphonse. Yeah, we meet Ed and Al, and they are trying to capture this I don't remember what his name was, but he's the ice alchemist who is trying to take down the government because of a whole bunch of apparently war crimes that he and a bunch of other people were ordered to do during this conflict in a place called Ishval. So off the bat, off to the races, just getting into political drama and all sorts of stuff with this show. Yeah, they're like, it's a whole episode where they're just like chasing this guy while he's trying to like set up these circles on the ground across the city, and the Ed and Al and a whole bunch of other people, Colonel Mustang and this guy named Armstrong. Oh my God, Mr. Armstrong. Oh God. They're all trying to they're all using this alchemy stuff, which is like magic but not magic. It's science magic that you can transmute things. You can law of equivalent exchange. You can turn one thing into another thing. With similar mass and structure, stuff like that.
And components.
Yeah, components. Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Materials, mass, all that sort of thing. You can change something into something else. So they're like they're like taking walls and turning them into spears and other walls and all sorts of stuff. And he's making ice shoot out of places, and they're just like, they're bouncing all over the city fighting this dude. And he eventually sets off all of his alchemy circles to make a super alchemy circle on the city. And he's like making it out of giant ice walls, and his plan is to freeze the capital and the king. The Fuhrer. Which I'm like, You're gonna be evil, aren't you? No one has ever been called the Fuhrer, and they've not been evil.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because Bradley seems really cool. Anyway, they're trying to chase this guy down. They stop his alchemy, but he's getting away, and then he runs into the Fuhrer, and the Fuhrer cuts him a new one. Like, barely moves, just pulls out his sword, and just, like, that classic slow-mo samurai thing, where your opponent, like, you run past your opponent, and then suddenly they just burst into blood. Anyway, that's episode 1. And then we get our origin story for Ed and Al, who are the main characters of this, not the ice guy, which weirdly enough. The first episode was very much about that guy, not so much our main characters, when we stop and think about it a little bit. We learn more about Edward and Alphonse Elric, 2 orphan boys who had a loving mother who died because she had the hairstyle every anime mom has when they're about to die. And they want to bring her back. So they learn alchemy from their dad's library, their absentee father, very anime, very good, loving it. So not only do they have a missing parent, they have a dead parent.
Oh, should we... Did you mention how the mom died?
A plague?
Yeah.
An epidemic?
Too soon.
Good God. Anywho, they want to bring her back to life with something called human transmutation, which is apparently a no-no for alchemists to do.
No-no.
But they're like, hey, we'll just do it in secret. No one will ever know. Everyone's gonna know.
Yes.
So yeah, they figure out the formula for a human body, which, if you're a fan of film theory, is not the formula for a human body.
No.
They do that, they make their ring, their circle, and they try to transmute this bucket of stuff into their mother.
I think it's her ashes.
I thought it was like that list that they kept like talking
about.
I'm pretty sure it is that list
because
if they're looking for the components to make a human, they're using said components to remake her.
Yeah.
I don't know if her ashes are included in it though.
It looks like a pile of ashes, I will give you that.
Yeah, I was just assuming her ashes were like a part of that, but like
no, they got the DNA from themselves. They like did the blood thing.
Oh,
I mean, if she was in it, I feel like that would be their whole DNA makeup kind of thing.
Good point.
So they do that, and they get. How do I describe this exactly? Ed gets his leg ripped off. Mm-hmm. Alphonse gets his everything ripped off. And then Ed rips his own arm off to put his brother's soul into a suit of armor. Mm-hmm. So overall... Oh, by the way, they created a frickin' David Cronenberg monster instead of their mother. Yeah. So overall, bad day. Yeah. It's kind of a sucky day for everybody involved.
Ed also got to meet God, apparently.
Well, we learn about that a little bit. Yeah, he meets God, the truth, him, all sorts of things. When he goes to a blank white void with a door and a see-through person, and he gets thrown through the door and has all of reality's knowledge squished into his head all at once. Which I guess he retains some of it without his head exploding, because he comes back out and he's like, hey, so I think we might be able to figure this out. But he's like, oh, but you have to pay the toll. You gotta pay the toll. You know, it doesn't quite fit. If you want to use the alchemy hole, you gotta pay the troll toll. You gotta pay the troll toll to get in. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. But
works a little.
No, it doesn't. No. The original is way better. Anywho, loses his leg. Alphonse loses everything, so he should know even more, if we're gonna be honest. But yeah, then he gives up the arm to get the soul in the tin can, and then it's like, wow, that's how you get your Fullmetal Alchemist thing, because he's got a metal arm and a leg. So his neighbors put that together for him, and he slowly recovers and does his deal. He meets Colonel Mustang and gets a little chewed out, but at the same time he's like, hey, you're a prodigy, come join the military. So he does, and he becomes the youngest state alchemist, because of course the Fuhrer wants to have all the powerful people controlled under him. I don't know why I'm automatically I know why I'm automatically going German with that, but it's a bad name. It's a bad implication. We know it's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen the series. I know how the series goes, but at the same time, like, I feel like everyone early on is like, as soon as they said the Fuhrer, I'm like, that was a bad decision.
Big no.
I feel like you're giving something away here. Anywho, he tries to assassinate the king, but the king is way too fast with his sword, so he doesn't really try to assassinate him. He's just kind of showing off, he's got balls that he's 12. They might have descended. I don't know. Anyway, he's a state alchemist now. Now he has to work for the military. And now, in the present day, they're on a train to a town in the middle of nowhere. I don't know if it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's in the middle of nowhere, kind of. That apparently there is a priest doing miracles. And they want to know what those miracles are and how he's doing them. They are assuming to some degree that it's going to be alchemy. They're right, it's alchemy. But he's not following the laws of equivalent exchange. The things he's transforming and doing stuff with, they're not of the same mass. They're not of the same components. They're not of, like, any sort of thing. It's like, clearly he's supplementing it somehow. And they're like, oh, maybe it's the Philosopher's Stone. The MacGuffin of this show. It's not a MacGuffin. They will eventually explain it. But they don't explain exactly. It's basically magic stone make alchemy better. This is the best explanation that we get. Then we also meet a girl named Rose who lost her boyfriend and is like part of this religious church that this
Cult.
priest called. It's a cult, yeah.
Yeah.
On the surface, it just looks like some devout, bless you, some devout followers of sun god. No, it's a cult. Because the moment the priest hears, like, oh, state alchemists are here? Oh, well, let's kill them. Because, now they're going to try to kill them. They don't do well. These people are not competent. So there's a bit of a standoff going off with the priest, who's got a Philosopher's Stone, and the Elric brothers, who want that Philosopher's Stone, and Rose, who is just like, everything that she knew is a lie. So everyone's having a bad day, by the look of it. They catch they fight the priest. They get away. They have to run away. They get away. They fight a chimera. They fight the priest. Fight a chimera. Run away to regroup. Then they confront the priest again. They use the city's loudspeaker system to trick the priest into admitting that he's trying to raise an army of religious fanatics, and that he's been lying to them the whole time. So he's out of power at this point, but he still tries to fight Ed, and he transforms himself into a giant monster creature. Ed still kicks his ass by just using super alchemy that he's already got, because he doesn't need transmutation circles, because he saw the gate beyond. And yeah, the guy uses up his Philosopher's Stone. It disappears, so it wasn't a real Philosopher's Stone, and they're like, ah, shit. Back to square one. They leave looking for their new Philosopher's Stone, and the guy is left to the falling of his church and the uprising from the citizens before he is killed by a pretty lady and a fat dude. Oh, I also forgot there was a dude named Maze Hughes in there who we meet his family, and they're all super nice and everybody loves them.
Yes.
And that's Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yeah.
Brotherhood. Plot. Yin, is that you?
Okay, plot. I liked the plot overall. The 3 episodes felt a little bit disconnected from each other, but not in a bad way. I think we learned something new in each one, whether about the characters or about the world or just about the story. Like, we know exactly what Ed and Al are trying to do. Their goal is to get their bodies back. And I felt like it felt focused in that, and when it did veer off to other characters, it felt meaningful. It felt like it's all going to come back to something. So I thought it was pretty well structured. I liked that the first episode really gave us a lot of the action and established more of just how, I don't know, not necessarily even how the world works, but just like what a regular day for like an alchemist would be, like saving the city and whatnot. So it really, I think, worked in that way, and I think it established some things. Like I think even like the what is her name?
Winry?
Nah, the sin, was it envy? Lust. Yes, how can I forget that? It was Lust. I think she was even established.
You mean the hot one?
There. Yeah, the hot one.
Who'd have thought the hot one would be called Lust?
I know. I should have thought about that. I don't know why I was thinking envy. It's not right. But
maybe you just think Envy is the hot one.
Maybe. But
you hear that, Envy?
But yeah, I think the plot was done in a way that really worked for me. So I would say, you know, it felt like it was leading to something. I really liked the backstory that was given in the second episode. Sometimes backstories feel kind of plopped in there, but I think this one felt good. And it actually really made me sympathize with the characters. I remember feeling that way the first time I watched it too, and I definitely felt it here as well. So I'd give it a yay.
So I'm gonna give this I'm somewhere between like a meh and a soft yay, and I'm gonna say this as someone who, and mostly the thing for me was just the fact that the episodes felt disconnected to me, as Yin was saying. And I do feel that because I haven't watched the original series or read the manga, that it would probably make a lot more sense to me, or it would have a better sense of like what all is going on, had I either watched the original or read it. Because this is the reboot, I feel like I would sort of benefit from having already had like some other materials at my disposal to have looked at prior to watching this.
Well, you don't know that for sure, because I mean the Hunter x Hunter reboot, you don't have to know anything about the original to like enjoy the reboot.
No, I know. It's just the fact that like I feel lost. And I feel like as someone who's going into a show, I shouldn't already feel lost going into a show. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm not really wholly understanding the plot so far. Like, I mean, I understand, like, the general goal is basically for the brothers to find the Philosopher's Stone and, you know, find a way to, like, get Alphonse's body back and to get Ed back his arm and his leg. But aside from, like, knowing their main goal, like, I don't know, like, the first episode was good in that it really, like, established a lot of things and kind of showed you more of what, like, it's like for them as, like, alchemists and, like, hunting down rogue alchemists and other things like that. Again, second episode was all about their backstory, which was good, which was fine. And then the third episode, I think, is where I felt the most disconnected, mostly just because it felt a little episodic, I guess, in nature, mostly just because, granted, it's also another establishing thing for the Philosopher's Stone itself, because we do see the Philosopher's Stone that the ice alchemist had. It, like, fell out of his body, and it immediately disintegrated, but they didn't really talk about it. So in this third episode, they definitely really established that. It's just, like, I feel, I don't know, I guess I felt like it was more disconnected from the rest of it than the others were. So, yeah, I'm gonna say I'm, like, a soft yay, mostly just because I'm still feeling a little lost right now.
I know you've mentioned this in the past, Chibi, but I spoke to my one friend from high school who has watched both shows and read the manga. the original series and the manga does not start off as number one, episode one. Episode one is an anime original opening episode. Like, it just immediately just takes you right into it, like, as the literary term says, in media res, like, right in the middle of the action, which, I mean, I guess it's fine. I guess they wanted to start off the show for modern audiences, you know, with cool magic, cool action, but then at the same time, you're wondering, wait, who are these people? What's going on? What the hell's going on? So it was a cool action-y episode, but it does kind of make you say, wait, what the hell's going on? But then you get the backstory and you get their motivations, which I think helps a little bit. And they kind of, you know, the third episode is kind of episodic, but they're also trying to follow the trail of the Philosopher's Stone, you know, the key that they would need to maybe turn themselves back to normal. So I think that kind of help that out a little bit. So yeah, overall, minus, you know, the weird setup of episode one, I'm kind of a yay.
I think I'm a yay here too. But I think, like, to some degree, yes, they were a touch episodic, but that doesn't. I think they were talking about a little bit in episode one about taking the train out to that place. So I think the overall goal has always been the Philosopher's Stone early on and to get their bodies back. Even if it wasn't, like, the clear and present thing in episode one, like, I think from that point on, it definitely is. So it gave us a very clear motivation. It introduced everybody in a mostly organic way. And it, like, kept things moving, kept things going, kept me interested the whole time. So I think I'm a yay here.
Yeah, I am definitely a yay on this show. I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about the first episode because I heard from people that it was, like, kind of weird, and it just, like, threw you in there. But I actually think I enjoyed having a first episode like that because it kind of, like, gave you some, like, more action and, like, got you interested in what was going on and, like, who are these people. Whereas, like, if they would have just started with the backstory, like, I think that, like, yeah, while the backstory was good, I think it would have just been, like, boring, kind of, like, to start from, like, 10 years ago, kind of like the thing that Black Clover did, where they were like, well, here's everything from the get-go, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, that's great, I guess, but what is the show actually, like, about? But I think I liked how they did it with, like, the fight against that, like, ice alchemist, and then, you know, then they peppered in the backstory in episode 2, and then they, like, started off on their, like, adventure. Like, I think it really worked, so I'd say I'm a yay for the plot.
Yeah, it's looking overall pretty yay for that plot. How about them characters, though? Chibs, are you I think you're leading us off on characters, right?
Yes, I am. Okay,
go for it.
So, we got the Elric brothers, Ed and Alphonse. Ed, who is the short one, and he's a bit of a hothead, but he's a very gifted alchemist prodigy, obviously. I like his character. I think he's funny. And obviously, like, he comes off a bit cocky, but I don't know. I don't think that's a bad thing, because honestly, sometimes it's a little bit interesting to, like, watch a main character who kind of knows a little bit more about things than everyone else does. Sometimes mostly just because it's like, okay, yeah, no, we get to watch the hero monologue a little bit. This is fine. And then we have Alphonse, who, sweet boy. He's basically the one that everyone thinks is the Fullmetal Alchemist, when Alphonse is not. Alphonse is honestly just, like, his soul is just stuck in the armor, and it's so funny. I guess it's not really funny, but it is kind of funny when his head just flies off, and everyone's just like, wait, what? It's
oh,
like,
no,
there's no one in
decapitation.
there. And I'm just like, oh, well, yeah. And then they're like, oh, we know what you did. And it's kind of like an interesting way of like revealing the boys' secrets to like different characters that they meet throughout the series. Especially like their backstory, which is like you kind of really feel for them because like they're boys who basically don't really have a family and they try to get their family back and it all goes wrong and it's very sad. But the brothers are trying to work together to like, you know, get Alphonse's body back, get Ed back his arm and his leg. And they just have a really good like relationship together, I think, you know. Then we also have your other characters, and Roy Mustang, who is the colonel that we get to meet, who is a fire alchemist, I believe. He seems interesting. We haven't really seen a whole lot of him yet. Same with Risa Hawkeye, who is the lieutenant that we see, who also comes to basically pick Ed up to basically say, hey, come join the military. We briefly meet Winry, who is the one who built that arm and leg for Ed to replace his human ones, because he now is full metal arm and leg. And then we briefly get introductions to Lust and Gluttony, who are two of there's the seven deadly sins.
No, that's a different show.
Different show, I am aware, but that's what I associate them with. But two antagonists, so we're already getting to meet them a little bit. We got Mace Hughes and Armstrong and Bradley, and we just I will say in these first 3 episodes we got to meet like a lot of cast members that are going to be around for a while, from what I feel. So it was interesting to just like get to sort of meet them, but also just kind of like, okay, I have to learn your names all really fast because I'm like, I don't remember when I'll see you again, and then I'll just forget. But so far the characters all seem interesting, or they all at least seem okay. So I'm gonna give the characters a yay. Because I'm hoping to meet more. And all the ones that I'm meeting right now seem pretty good. So yeah.
I forget which week it was, but I remember you guys were talking about like anime, like you never really watched the show Mitosis, but like you kind of recognized like the characters.
Nerd Osmosis?
Yeah, Nerd Osmosis. I forget which week that was.
It probably came up a couple times.
Yeah, this kind of reminded me of a situation like that because, you know, Fullmetal Alchemist is such a popular series and the characters are so, well, popular. I feel like I've heard about their different personalities and traits over the years. Like, obviously, you know, you got the Elric brothers and you got the fan favorite Mustang and you got, you know, Winry, the main, you know, love interest and all that stuff. So I didn't think, I mean, obviously the second episode definitely gave a lot of backstory and motivation to the Elric brothers, and the rest of the characters seem cool, especially Mustang and Bradley, and Armstrong is basically Christopher Sabat doing his All Might voice, but without any limits, if that makes any sense.
I know.
So overall, I like the characters. I would want to definitely watch to get to know them more, but we didn't. Besides the Elric brothers, we really didn't get to know them that much. Which I mean, I guess it's fine. It's only 3 episodes, and it is a 64 episode series. So I am interested enough in the characters to give it a yay.
I think I'm along the same lines there. I think that what we got from everybody was enough to make everybody likable and interesting in one way, shape, or form. Ed works as that sort of like arrogant young genius who also kind of gets taken down a peg every time someone calls him short. It's kind of fun. Al works as a foil to him, kind of like the loudmouth versus the quiet one. I think, like, with the other state alchemists, we don't know a whole lot about them yet. Armstrong makes a pretty strong impression right off the bat. I liked him right away. And Bradley, good God, it's Tom Selleck with an eye patch. How could I not like this guy? Why do you have to call him the Fear? I know he's going to be a bad guy. Oh my God. Seriously, live action. You don't think Tom Selleck?
No, yeah,
he's a little big now.
I mean, maybe
like,
back in the 80s when he was younger.
Well, like, even a few years ago, I think he could, because he's not, like, Bradley doesn't seem like a young guy, but at the same time, it's like, he's probably a lot more fit than Selleck is right now. Unless you got Selleck in the gym a lot. I still think Tom Selleck. That'd be good. That'd be a good cast.
The Fuhrer made his money by selling home mortgages to you.
That's only recently, you know. Before that, he was a PI in some Hawaiian-esque area. This is not the real world, so it's not Hawaii, but, like, yeah, you know. And other stuff, you know. God, what else? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have a whole lot to add. Like, we don't know a whole lot about the villains yet, but, like, there's a lot of very motivated characters here, each with their own agenda. I think that's a big thing for, like, both plot and character in general. Like, I feel like this is going to be one with a lot of people moving, and I think that's going to be very helpful with keeping people interested in, like, characters and stuff. So I think overall, yeah, it's some pretty good characters so far.
Yeah, I really like the characters. I think they're all very interesting, and I like Ed being, like, yeah, like you said, Al, the like small, like, genius, like kind of like egoist that he is. And Al is very sweet, Alphonse. And the other, like, alchemists seem pretty cool from what we have seen of them so far. I really like Maze Hughes. He seems like a nice guy. And no spoilers. No spoilers in the comments, please. But yeah.
Did you see this one yet, or like all the way through?
No.
Okay. Yeah, no spoilers.
No spoilers. I mean, I know things, but no spoilers. Please. I don't want to know how things. But yeah, I really like the characters, and I'd give them a yay.
Yeah, I mean, going last. All I can really do is echo what everybody else said, so I'll give it a yay for the same reasons as everyone else.
Tom Selleck with an eye patch. Always a yay. So, world building. I feel like we've kind of talked a little bit about it when we were talking about the plot, but let's go into world building proper. Envy, I think you're taking us off on this one.
Yeah, this is a high yay for me because, in my opinion, I could be in the minority with this, but I think, like, out of all the shows we watched, this is probably one of the better world building stuff because they clearly show not just, the different types of alchemy you use, but the roles that is in place for it. It's basically, not only is there, you give and you take. You can't just make, it's not like in fantasy where you just make magic out of nothing. You have to create alchemy, usually through the circles on the ground, unless you're Ed and you get the magic power to do it without the circles. But still, you have to give something in order to do it, and we learned that the hard way, through what happened with the Elric brothers. And I like the different dynamics that they have, and I like, that some of the villains are based off of the 7 deadly sins. I mean, obviously we definitely saw gluttony in the end of the one episode, but yeah, I really like the explanation on how alchemy is used in the world, and I think it could potentially lead into more stuff with how to expand the world of the alchemy and the world of the different the different users of the alchemy. So yeah, I give this a high yay.
I think I'm coming in right along with you there. I think, like, in almost in each episode, we got new elements of world building that wasn't like info dumped to us. It all came very organically throughout. Like the first episode, we kind of learned a little bit about alchemy, for one thing. We learned how it can be used in a number of different ways. We learned that there is clearly shit going down with the government and the military and a whole bunch of other stuff. And in the second one, we learned more about the alchemy. We learned some of the rules and restrictions and stuff. We learned, like, I've heard before, like, there's, like, when writing, like, certain fantasy worlds and stuff, there's, like, if you want to have magic, there are two schools of thought for it. You can, or there's, like, a spectrum of thought to it. But it mostly breaks down to a binary system of, like, hard magic system or soft magic system. Soft magic system would be like Lord of the Rings. Super fucking vague into how magic works. It's just a thing, and we don't really know how it works or explain it, even though Gandalf clearly does. And then you have the hard magic end of it, which example they actually gave was alchemy in Fullmetal Alchemist. Clear fucking rules, and everyone knows how it works, and then it becomes, you know, what to do with it now that you have a very solid structure. So, and they establish it very early on. I mean, like, all you really have to say is equivalent exchange, and you kind of get it. Give something to get something. It's so simple, and yet so complicated, but they explain it in a way that works. And then, you know, in the third episode, we also find out, like, there's other elements going on. You know, we keep hearing other little things for world building. We're hearing about, like, and sometimes it's just little snippets. Like, they had that report about the ice alchemist, and they were saying something about alkahestry from another country. No one knows what that is. We don't know what that is, but it's still, like, it's world building stuff. There's other elements to this beyond even what we've seen. There's also, like, they keep bringing up Eastern conflict, Ishval, whatever's going on there. Some shit went down. We don't know what, but we know it's happening. There's a history to this world. It's very broad, and yet, despite how broad it looks, we also know that it's full and three-dimensional. And I think that is not easy to do in your first 3 episodes, but they did it, and I gotta give them a yay for that.
Well, I think you said just about, like, everything I could want to say about world building. Mainly about, like, the 3 different episodes giving us, like, each little, like, you know, like, each information about, like, the world and alchemy and everything like that. Like, it wasn't, like, dumped on us by, like, one character in, like, one episode. It's, like, spread throughout, but, like, you know, it's still, we're learning about it, unlike, I guess, Inuyasha, where we didn't learn much in the first, like, 3 episodes. This is, like, we already know, like, a good bit about alchemy, like, so far, but, like, it wasn't just sudden, like, a sudden, like, learning about it. It was, like, spread out, so I think that is, like, a nice way to, like, do it within the first, like, 3 episodes. But, yeah, I don't know, I like the world building. I'd give it a yay.
Yeah, I mean, just like everybody else said, I think the world building in this is really fantastic, and mostly because it does feel like a fully fleshed out world. So it feels like, I don't know, they must have had a really good, like, world bible or whatever for this one, like, where they, I don't know, they fully formed it before actually touching the script. Like with some shows or books or really anything, it feels like they kind of made the world just to fit the plot, but this feels like they really had a world and the plot just works with it and the characters just inhabit it in a really great way. But it feels like the world is something that's, like, it has its own history, it has its, like, you feel like there's a before and an after to the world. Like, it would have stretched before the plot and it will continue after the plot. Like, it doesn't feel isolated to just the plot. So I think the world really feels expansive. It feels like it makes sense how everything works, especially with the alchemy. So I think they did a really fantastic job of creating a world that feels real and unique and fully fleshed out. So it's a high yay for me.
I'm also give this a yay. As I said before with plot, I'm still a little confused, but I guess for world building, like, that's sort of more okay. Mostly just because, like, that just gives us more stuff to, like, build on at this point. I would kind of like to know a little bit more about the things like the Eastern Conflict and Ishval and stuff like that, but I feel like those are probably things that they'll probably explain in, like, someone's backstory coming later. The thing with the world building is I don't really have a whole lot to add aside from, like, the Philosopher's Stone bit. As we've said, like, the alchemy magic system is sort of like based on, like, real world alchemy, where it's like you put these ingredients in, you'll get something out of, like, equal or of equal value. Whereas the Philosopher's Stone, when used in conjunction with whatever you're trying to change the matter of, essentially will, like, change it, which is why they always say, oh, use Philosopher's Stone, turns lead into gold. So it will amplify their power in order to, allow them to do bigger exchanges for what they're putting into what they're getting out. As we see in episode 3, which I thought was, like, a pretty interesting way of introducing this concept to us. So I feel like there's, like, a good bit that they could do with that. I just really would like to, like, have it explained a little bit more, especially, like, with these fake ones that apparently the one cult leader had, basically. Like, if you make a Philosopher's Stone, like, and if it's not, like, a real one, or if it's a cheap one, like, how long does it last? How much can it amplify your power? What's the real one supposed to be like? Is there only one in existence? Like, how many are there, if there are even more? And just, like, how much could, like, an honest and true Philosopher's Stone, like, actually amplify their power? These are all just questions that I have, but I feel like this world could definitely expand upon them. So yeah, I'm a yay.
It's interesting that we've had 2 shows that involve small jewels that amplify your powers.
Yeah. That is very true.
Yeah. But it seems everyone's an overall yay for world building. So I think now we're taking it into art and animation. I think I'm leading us off on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm a yay here too. I think first off, the animation is very fluid. I'm not seeing a whole lot of, like, tricks to cheap out on stuff. I think all the characters look distinct and unique. There's a bit of same face going on for a couple of people, but it's not the most noticeable thing right away. Yeah, like, the character designs, especially, like, the locations and everywhere else, like, the backgrounds are really nice too. Yeah, it's a well-made show. I think it's got a good base. Like, I think, and this kind of ties back into world building, I think they just had a very solid base world that they wanted to start with, and then filled that world with this story. And I think that's also kind of reflected in the art in that. And, like, this feels like a lived-in world, because it kind of feels... It looks like places that I could kind of see, but at the same time, unique enough on its own that I don't know if I would entirely mistake it for some other place, if that makes sense. So yeah, I give it a yay.
Art and animation. I really like the character designs in the show. Like Al said, I feel like they're all pretty, like, distinct. I mean, given, like, that half of them wear the same uniform, like, you still tell who the characters are, because they each have, like, some kind of, like, feature about them. I think that the art style, like, that they have is very nice. Like, it seems like there's, like, Armstrong, for example.
Yeah.
He's, like, very, like...
Bald might.
Yeah, he's like, you know, got his own, like, thing going on there. Whereas, like, Ed's, like, looks so different from him, and I think that's nice, but they both look, like, animated very well. It's hard to describe. I'm no animation guru. I don't know the first thing about animation, to be honest, but
You draw a picture. That's the first thing.
Sure. But I don't know, like, I liked it. I'd give it a yay. That's all I really have to say about it.
Yeah, I really liked this animation as well. One thing that I really loved about it is just the aesthetic. I don't even know what to consider it exactly. Like, it kind of feels like steampunk, but it's not exactly steampunk. But there's just something very interesting about it. And it really does give me a feel of the world.
Industrial?
Industrial, kind of. Yeah, it's like industrial fantasy or something. Whatever it is, I like it. And I've always really liked the aesthetic of this show because it just makes me feel even more like I'm in this world. And everything really fits in it. Like, all the designs feel like they should be in this world. So I really like the consistency of it and just how interesting it looks. I don't know, it's just the kind of place you want to explore. I like the character designs overall, especially characters like Alphonse has a really interesting design. Especially because you get the contrast, like, with his big bulky body and then his little, like, kid voice that really, I don't know, like, part of it's funny, but also it shows, like, the tragedy of, like, their whole circumstance. And I think there are certain parts of the animation that also kind of show that. Like, I don't know if I'm imagining it, but when you see their old house, like, in the flashbacks, it looks kind of crude, like a crayon drawing or something.
Yeah, like, the walls are a little, like, off. It's,
Yeah.
like, almost askew a little bit.
It looks like a child's drawing a little bit, and I think that's on purpose to kind of show, like, the childhood, the lost childhood, you know? Like, I think that's kind of like his memory of it in a way. And it shows also in the end song, but that doesn't matter right now. But I think it also shows in the actual show, which I find interesting. And then there are some moments like the black and white part after he does the thing in the flashback. I don't know what to call...
The human transmutation? The gate thing?
Yeah, I don't know what to call that little, like, black and white scene, but...
He calls himself Truth.
Yeah, when he was in that weird location, that was just, like, a really interesting design for that as well. So I think, like, the little things that they did really made it stand out to me. So I would give it a yay.
I'm also give this a yay. I don't really have a whole lot to add about it. Character designs are good. Animation's pretty fluid. I felt like episode 1 was definitely a good showcase of how far the animation has come from the first one, for sure. So yeah, I'd give it a yay.
Yeah, I'll also give it a yay. There's really not much more I can add. I mean, I thought the character designs were all, good. I like the action scenes, and I like the animation for the comedy bits. I don't know why, but whenever, like, they do, like, the stereotypical character gets pissed off, and they kind of do that small, scrunchy little thing, especially with Ed, that kind of cracked me up with that animation. Yeah, so, I mean, there's really not much I can add. Everything you guys have been saying, I agree with, so I give it a yay.
Sounds like a yay for art and animation. but how is that sound? Gav, take us on in there. Sound and dubbing.
All right. So, despite Ed's voice actor being a terrible person, let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
That was going to come up at some point.
I
can
still
still watch The Usual Suspects with Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I still like the voices. Like, I still think the voices, like, for the dub fit pretty well. Even though Vic, shitty person, it's fine. I mean, Ed still is not Vic.
Ed is Ed.
Yeah. So, I'll try not to hold it against him. I don't know. I still like the voices. I'd say that they did a good job with the dub. Trying to think. I think Al's voice is very, like, fun and cute for, like, his physique with the giant, like, suit of armor that his soul is stuck in. And, I mean, those are the only really voices that, like, I can remember too well, like, because I haven't seen much of the other characters, yet, but I'm sure I'll have more to say about them as well once, you know, I watch more, but I'd give it a yay so far.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think all the performances were pretty good. And the characters' voices very much matched them. I also, like, want to point out Alphonse mostly because we've had such weird little kid voices in some of the anime we've been watching. But this little kid voice is actually really good. I think it really works for him. And it sounds like a natural child voice. So I want to give props to, I'm not sure who did that voice, but whoever they are, good job. And I thought everybody else was good too. So I'd give it a yay.
So I really like the score in this. The music was really good. Lots of very nice numbers. For the voice acting, for the dubbing, I'm good on pretty much. Do not type on my keyboard. He literally wrote out this, you guys.
You?
That is what my cat just typed in the Discord chat. He wrote you with many W's.
He didn't like the dubbing.
No. So for the dubbing, for me, I feel like most of the voices worked pretty well. The only one, and I think it's just because I need to watch maybe a little more with scenes with this character in it, was Roy Mustang's. I don't know. I know he's voiced by Travis Willingham, and Travis Willingham's a very good voice actor. I don't know if I just need to see more scenes with him in it. It's just like, I think I just had a hard time, like, getting his voice with Roy's face, if that makes any sense. You guys know me. I'm weird when it comes to, like, the voice matching the face. So, yeah, I think, because of all that, I'd say I'm a light yay on the sound and dubbing for this.
Yeah, I mean, controversy surrounding the actor. Besides that, I did think Vic Mignogna did a good job voicing Ed. He does the right amount of, charmy snarking and pissed off whenever he gets irritated. I'll be honest, I knew about the twist with Alphonse, him being trapped in a suit of armor, his soul. I didn't expect the character to be that high-pitched and young. I didn't know that about that going in, so that kind of caught me off guard a little bit, but I kind of got used to it. And then as far as the other major characters, it's like a who's who of, like, prominent voice actors today. Yeah, you got Travis Willingham as Mustang. You got Colleen Clickenbeard as Riza. You got Caitlin Glass as Winry, and I don't know who does Bradley, but he did a really good job. I really liked his performances, especially during the scenes where he kind of shows off how badass he is with the sword. And then, of course,
Ed Blaylock.
Okay, yeah, he did a really good job.
I got the list up in front of me.
And then, of course, we have to talk about Christopher Sabat as Armstrong.
Oh.
Holy shit! I mean, you know who he reminded me of?
Bald Mite.
Well, no, yes. This is not an insult at all. I thought this was entertaining. He reminded me of that Matador character from Monster Camp that Al voices, with giving that with the sexy flexes and the sexy,
Morty the Minotaur?
Yeah, he reminds me of that. I don't know why. His voice kind of reminds me of that. Especially with the way he always likes to flex and show off his clothes and the end of one episode where he's like, I'm gonna give you guys a big hug. I don't know why. I just was picturing Al voicing the Minotaur character in my head, and I was cracking up because of that. I don't know why.
Well, I am happy to be compared to Christopher Sabat.
I don't know why I got that vibe for some reason, but yeah, I really enjoyed the voice acting, so it's a yay for me. And the sound was good too.
Yeah, I'm going to parrot that a little bit. I thought the whole cast seemed to work very well. I think everyone was just the right tone for me. Everybody's voice... I know you're saying Mustang didn't quite match, but I don't see that myself. I think he worked very well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Had some decent lines here and there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always just me. I'm weird like that. I don't know.
No, it's all right. I mean, I don't know that I have a whole lot to add. I think it's a yay for me. Yeah, Bald Mite. Perfect. I don't think I've had one role that we've seen Chris Sabat on these in this that I have not liked. I know you had a problem with Kuwabara.
Okay,
but...
he grew on me after a while. It was just, like, kind of jarring at first. But I think as I continued watching it, like him and also Botan, I think her name is,
well,
she got
first
better
3 episodes,
for me.
Botan was not great, but she got better later.
She
'cause
really
we did
did.
keep watching
So,
some
like,
of those episodes.
Yeah, I think a lot of those characters' voices either grew on me or really improved as they went along.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna, like, knock on any of the Yu Hakusho ones.
All right. Yeah, but in any case, in this anime, yeah, I'm going to say yay for dubbing. Was that everybody?
I think so, yeah.
Gab, you started the dubbing one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's looking like a yay for dubbing. Let's talk openings and endings. Yin.
Openings and endings. I really liked both of them for this one. I think the visuals of the ending were especially good for the kind of the reasons I mentioned earlier. It kind of harkens back to their childhood and how they both sort of lost their childhood. So I liked that about it a lot. I also really liked the song. I liked the song for the opening a lot. The visuals didn't strike me as much, but I think they're really good. And there's one part where the song just really ramps up and it goes like really fast for a sort of bridge, and I think it's just awesome. So I gotta give it a yay. I think the anime ending and opening are both great.
So I'm a yay on these. I liked both of the songs. I like the visuals for both. I thought like the little, like sort of crayon, sort of like animations, and visuals for the ending were a nice touch. Yeah, I got nothing more to say. I'm a yay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm piggybacking off of what Yen said. I really liked both visuals and songs for both. Although it's kind of one of those things where like you could have like a very depressing episode like episode 2 did, and then at the end, it's happy-go-lucky with the cutesy art style. It's kind of weird when shows do that. Like you can have like a really like fucked up episode, but then you have like a happy-go-lucky ending or something like that. It's kind of weird like that. But yeah, overall I liked both, so I give it a yay.
I think I'm a yay here too. I think ending's good. The opening is also very good. It's very catchy. I think both of them have these elements of kind of capturing little elements of the show, like both smaller, quiet character moments and bigger actiony moments. And they showcase, like, especially in the opening, they showcase both very well. I don't know, but they're both very catchy, easy to get in your head, and they stick with you. So, yeah, I'm a yay.
I liked them both. I thought they were like pretty exciting, and like catchy in like their own ways. So I'd say yay.
That sounds like yays all around.
Oh, I forgot to mention too about the OP. I really liked the part where they showed like the arm and the leg of Edward disappearing, and then all of Alphonse disappearing. I like that because it kind of showed, what happens to both of them in the episode. I like that.
Yeah, and then Winry is just kind of like, oh, wait, nothing happened to me. Yeah, but yeah, so yay for opening and ending. Who's taking us into final thoughts?
Me.
Chibi, go for it.
So I would say I would probably continue watching this after the second time around and seeing a little bit more of it. I feel like I would probably watch a little bit of the original anime or just read a bit more of them, or just read a bit of the manga, just so like I kind of feel like I have a better sense of like what's going on, because I don't know, I just feel like, because I know it's a reboot, I feel like there are some things I might be missing, even though I'm sure because it's more accurate to the manga that I might not be. But I just feel like it would probably help just to make me feel a little less lost, because I know there is more material for it. So I'd give this like a light yay for continuing on.
Yeah, I mean, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is, ever since I got into anime, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is definitely one of those shows that's been on my list forever, but I just never gotten around to watching. Mainly because it's one of those things, whether it be movie, TV, anime, whether that's so high regarded, so well received, and so beloved that you're afraid of watching it and thinking it's okay or it's kind of overrated. So for that reason, I was tempted to start watching it, but I guess now with this tournament we had to watch it, and I think I'm not going to Zerg rush through it like I do with a lot of other shows. I'll probably, watch it, take my time watching it, but I definitely will want to at least continue, watching it just to see if it does truly live up to that legendary status for me. And I know for the original show, it goes anime original, I think like halfway through the show or like a third of the way through the show or something like that. And this series, I think, adapts the manga like 100% all the way through. So I've heard people debate which one is better. That most people prefer Brotherhood, but although I know there are some people that like the original more. But as far as this show, I would continue watching it. I'll give it a yay.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same thoughts as you here, because I think I'm a yay here. I think all the characters are interesting to me. The plot is moving, and the world is cool, and it's easy on the eyes. I got no complaints for this one. I'm ready for another 3 episodes.
I liked it. I'd watch it again, and those are my final thoughts on it.
Short and sweet.
I'd watch more of it, I guess I should say, and I'd watch it again. So like, also
10 out of 10 would watch again.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I really like the first 3 episodes. I've already seen the whole show, but even if I was just basing on these episodes, I would definitely continue watching. I think they really set the stage well, and they got me very interested. So I would definitely continue. It's a yay for me.
It seems like yays all around. So, now we gotta fight him.
Ugh, it's gonna be hard.
So, Inuyasha versus Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Shonen Showdown. Let's start talking plot. Envy, are you leading us off on our picks, I think?
Yes, I'm leading off with a plot.
Take it away.
This is kind of weird because I think the plots for both shows excel at different categories down the line. Like, I think with world building, I think Brotherhood is better, but with like dialogue and like character motivations, I think well, not so much character motivations, but I think the setting of Inuyasha is a little bit more interesting. So I will say this though, I'm gonna pick Inuyasha because it's a little bit more straightforward and easier to follow, and like I liked the backstory a lot in episode 2 with Brotherhood, but I think like the first episode was kind of weirdly placed, like just out of nowhere or like in the middle for like your pilot episode. So I think because of the more straightforward approach, I give the edge in plot to Inuyasha.
Think here. I think both of them come out of the gate, both with MacGuffins that they are immediately going after. Bless you.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's... I'm trying to think, like... I feel like I'm leaning a little bit towards Fullmetal Alchemist. Maybe from the pacing of it, because at the very least, like, I think in both of them we have questions about the world and whatnot, and, you know, but they have, like, similar, like, we were going after this thing for personal reasons. That being said, like, not that there was a ton of downtime that I was complaining in Inuyasha, but, like, I definitely felt like things were moving a lot faster with Fullmetal Alchemist, but on top of that, I also saw a lot of the stage being set for what would hopefully be interesting B-plots. Like, whatever was going on in the past with Ishval. What the stuff, like, there are people who want to take down the government now. Other things like that. Whatever's going on with the villains that we haven't met yet, but they're probably connected to the A-plot. I felt like there was more things going on in Fullmetal Alchemist off the bat, so I'm gonna go with Fullmetal Alchemist on this one.
You know, just because of that, because there's like more plot to grab you from the first 3 episodes, I'm gonna go with Fullmetal Alchemist. But it's kind of like sucks because I know there's more that happens in like Inuyasha 2 just from like watching it, but since we're only going off like the first 3 episodes, it's like, well, we get more from like especially episode 1 and episode like 3 at the end of Fullmetal Alchemist. So I'd have to go with Fullmetal Alchemist for plot.
This one's really hard, and I feel like a lot of them are going to be really hard. But yeah. I'm going to go with Inuyasha for plot, mostly because I think that it really flowed very well. And like I said in the first round, I felt like it had a movie type quality to its story beats, and I think Fullmetal Alchemist had a really great plot as well, but I didn't feel that flow as much. It definitely felt more like separate episodes, which is perfectly fine, but if I'm just talking about plot isolated from everything else, I'm gonna have to go with Inuyasha.
Chibi, it's 2-2, you're a tiebreaker.
Oh, I already had my mind
for
made
the
up.
for the first category. It's gonna be fun.
So, I mean, my whole thing is that going into both of these shows, I feel that Inuyasha's plot was pretty straightforward. It kind of like tells you within like at least the first two episodes, like, okay, here's your goal, here's what you're doing. And we just kind of sort of get that set up, and then like, will there probably be Monster of the Week stuff? Yeah, sure, probably. Do we know that? We don't know. So the thing with Fullmetal Alchemist though is that episode 1 just seemed very sort of like an establishing shot to like sort of like get you sort of into the world, but it didn't really establish more of like what the plot was, I feel. Whereas that's sort of established in the second episode with the backstory with the brothers, that they want to find the Philosopher's Stone in order to like get themselves back to normal. But even then, that I feel like it was probably a little more established in episode 3, at least more concretely. But the thing with their episodes is that they all felt a little disjointed, mostly because it's like showcase, backstory, and then a bit of plot in episode 3, to like break down how I saw the episodes. So I feel like as far as like, wow, there is a lot going on in Fullmetal Alchemist, I'd have to give this to Inuyasha simply because this just feels a lot more like straightforward, and the flow's just a lot better to me.
Well, that clinches yay for Inuyasha for the plot. So, moving on into characters. I think I'm leading us off on characters, aren't I?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I think we both had both these shows establish their characters off the bat very well. I think it's interesting because we also have like a setup of like two main leads off the bat, in both Inuyasha and Kagome, and in Ed and Al. And I think both of them had relationships of kind of like that, not dissimilar of like those hot and cold sort of elements, coming from different sort of style relationships, but I think both of them really worked in their own stories. And I'm having a bit of trouble saying who I liked better a little bit.
Would you like to pass?
No, I don't want to pass, because, like, to some degree, I want to also talk, like, side characters, and if we're going to talk side characters, it kind of leans in Fullmetal Alchemist's favor a little bit, because I feel like they established a lot more cast, and a lot more distinct cast off the bat. Outside of Inuyasha and Kagome, all we really have to work off of is Kaide, which she's fine, but, you know, she's no Armstrong. I'm sorry. And, you know, even, like, I already feel like I kind of know Mustang a little bit. I feel like I already kind of, like, I don't know that Armstrong's that complicated, but I already feel like I know him a little bit. Plus, Tom Selleck with a mustache, or with an eye patch. He always has a mustache. You know, he doesn't always have a mustache, but he's always best when he has a mustache. I think it's just because, like, I think they have, the main characters are comparable, but I feel like Fullmetal Alchemist comes with more for me, and there's a lot more people to latch onto in it. I'm gonna go with that one.
You see, it's hard because I've watched Inuyasha before, and one of my favorite characters hasn't been introduced yet. And I honestly can't remember when they're introduced. So I'm like, well, this sucks, because it's like there's gonna be more characters in Inuyasha besides just the two of them and like Kaede. But like for the first 3 episodes we're given like a lot more characters in Fullmetal Alchemist. Though we don't really know much about them. But, you know, they're introduced earlier, so they'll probably have time to, like, get to know them. And just for that reason, I have to go with Fullmetal Alchemist. Like, just because we're basing it off the first 3 episodes. Just rough, but that's just how it is.
Yeah, I feel similarly. If we're just talking about the 2 main characters in both, I don't think I'd be able to choose because I thought both Inuyasha and Fullmetal Alchemist had really strong main characters, but we didn't really get to see as many of the side characters in Inuyasha, and since I've seen a little bit in the middle, I kind of agree with Gav that there's some really good characters that come later, but we don't really see them right now, so I can't really count them. Whereas I think the supporting cast of Fullmetal Alchemist really fleshed things out, and a lot of them had their own motivations and interesting things about them. So I'd say as a whole cast, Fullmetal Alchemist right now probably has more interesting ones going on. So I'll give it to that one.
So, for characters, I'd have to give it to Fullmetal Alchemist simply because they just have, like, a larger cast and a more sort of diverse cast right now. Not really diverse, but there's just a lot more people that I know we're going to be able to see later. Like, we got our main cast, and then we've got, like, some of the supporting characters in Hughes, Armstrong, and Hawkeye, and then we've also got our antagonists, which I just remembered what they're called. They're called the homunculi. There we go. That's what they're called. Even though I do feel like, as far as, like, for the characters, yeah, I don't really feel like we know a whole lot about them, whereas, like, I feel like I have a good sort of grasp on, like, even just Lady Kaede from Inuyasha, because I feel like her character is just kind of very straightforward. But yeah, just because they've got a more colorful cast of characters, I feel I'll give it to Fullmetal.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the main characters of both shows, I think both of them did a pretty good job. I think Kagome is decent enough, and Inuyasha I think is very interesting as a character, and I do like Kaede a lot as, like, the wise mentor figure. But yeah, I mean, there really isn't many other characters we've seen so far besides, you know, the random villagers and the monsters with Inuyasha, whereas with Fullmetal Alchemist, yeah, we don't know a ton about them other than, you know, nerd osmosis stuff, but they've all seemed interesting enough to where you want to know more about them. So yeah, just, I guess, kind of purely on quantity, I'll give the edge to Brotherhood.
And with that, it looks like Fullmetal Alchemist takes the yay for characters. Moving on, world building. Gav, who's your pick for world building?
You know, I hate this category every time that I have to be the one to, like, pick first.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Dude, we could find another order next time if you want.
It's just like world building's one of the hardest categories for me, and then having to pick between, like, both of them, I'm like, oh god.
You could always pass.
Yeah.
I could, but, like, I want to save that for when I really need it.
Because last time you were the tiebreaker.
I mean, are there any other categories that you really feel that you're going to need the pass for more?
You know, you can use pass more than once. We didn't, like, set a thing where you can only use it once.
That is true.
That's true.
Well, I think I would not have to use it this time anyway. Just, like, I think that, as much as I like Inuyasha, it's that the world building that they do in Fullmetal Alchemist, I feel like is just a little better. in regards that, like, how they sprinkled it out throughout the first 3 episodes of being like, well, here's like alchemy in like 3 parts, and how we're going to, like, you know, like, introduce it to our viewers and stuff. And I feel like we did get more information about, like, alchemy and, like, that world more than we did about, like, Kagome's world and how that relates to, like, Inuyasha's world, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, well, we know more about Fullmetal Alchemist, and I think they introduced it better, so I'd have to say Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Fullmetal Alchemist as well. Just comparing the two, I do think Fullmetal Alchemist probably has a little bit more going on with world building, though I think Inuyasha's was also really good. Just the way that they show how the alchemy works and all those other aspects, I think, fit together to make the world building really strong in Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yeah, I would also have to give the world building to Fullmetal Alchemist more just because it's more concrete, and sort of, like, established, and it has, like, it has a hard magic system. Whereas I feel with Inuyasha, like, it is a little more whimsical. Girl falls down a well, gets transported to the past. Sort of almost kind of feels like just the beginnings of, like, the story of, like, a girl, I don't know, just say she gets, like, transported back to, like, any other point in time, like, and I feel like the rules are a little more flimsy, and they're not really established, even though basically there is, like, a lot of folklore creatures, that we do see in, feudal Japan. It's just also, like, how the portal in the well works isn't really established, so that's also a thing. So yeah, give it to Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yeah, I do like the setting and the time travel elements of Inuyasha, but yeah, I really liked how they explained the world and the alchemy system of Brotherhood. I like how it not only made sense, but it felt like, okay, so what is Elric and Alphonse going to do to try and, you know, use their alchemy abilities to help solve the problem? And I think it gives you a good foundation, but like Al said too earlier, it gives you enough, you know, nuggets of information that makes you wonder what's going to happen in the future. So yeah, I'll give the edge to Brotherhood.
Yeah, I don't know what more I can say that I didn't already. I'm gonna go for Fullmetal Alchemist on this. As yeah, it's kind of that, like, I brought that hard magic versus soft magic kind of thing, and not to say that soft magic systems can't work and that sort of environment, but you know, when you have a solid idea for a world that already feels fully formed, I think that's going to come out on top. I don't think that Inuyasha's isn't a solid world. I just feel like it didn't present itself as nearly as much as Fullmetal Alchemist did. So, you know. So Brotherhood is taking the yay for world building. Art and animation. Yin, why don't you tell us about that?
This one's a little difficult. I did like a lot of elements of Inuyasha's animation, especially during more of the action scenes and more of the designs of the mythical creatures. And I don't know, some of the character designs are really iconic in Inuyasha. And also in Fullmetal Alchemist too. Like I said before, there's a lot about the aesthetic that I really like in Fullmetal Alchemist, which I think is more of a personal thing, but it's still there. And there were some elements that really, I think, had an impact animation-wise in Fullmetal Alchemist. So I think just because of those few moments where I felt like they did something a little bit different and it made an impact on me, I think I'm going to go with Fullmetal Alchemist, though I really liked Inuyasha's art style as well.
So I will definitely say that Fullmetal Alchemist is well animated, and I think, like, I liked it for the animation and character designs well enough, like Ed and Alphonse, and like pretty much most of the characters are pretty iconic. Same with Inuyasha. Like, the animation's done pretty well, and it even still holds up even pretty well now because of how long ago it came out. I think it's just that the art style is definitely a little, I want to say, softer. Not so many hard lines, I think. Character designs are good for both. You know, I guess I feel like I would give it to Inuyasha. Mostly just because I feel like the animation just holds up so well for how long it's been since these first 3 episodes have come out. So yeah, that's my vote.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with, animation, technically Brotherhood is better than Inuyasha, but it's not like it's a major thing. It's like, it's not like Yu Yu Hakusho versus Demon Slayer where they had like a massive difference. The animation of Inuyasha does still hold up, but yeah, when it comes to like the fluidity of the animation, I think Brotherhood is better. But yeah, I'm kind of with Chibi. I think I like the art and art style and the overall setting and design of the world in Inuyasha more than Brotherhood. Not that Brotherhood is bad, but I don't know. I kind of like the general feel of the world of Inuyasha, so I'll give the edge to Inuyasha as well.
I agree. This is kind of tough because I was kind of like looking at it as like individual elements. You talk about like the fluidity of like a lot of the animation stuff, and they're both pretty comparable. Especially impressive with Inuyasha for when it came out. I think both of them have good character designs that work for the characters, and I think that's already very solid. Even like their settings and backgrounds, like we didn't talk too much during the art stuff about the background stuff for Inuyasha, but they all work. They all work very well for the setting and everything else that works with it. And I mentioned Fullmetal Alchemist also works very well in that regard. So like everything is just coming up a tie for me.
It's hard with this one.
Yeah, this is...
They're both really well animated.
These are good shows.
Would you like to pass?
No. I'm trying to pass as little as I can. Okay. I'm trying to come down to things that maybe I had complaints about.
Okay.
And it's a bit nitpicky. I think I'm going to give it to Inuyasha because I did have one little complaint with Fullmetal Alchemist about some characters had some same face going on.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's really the only nitpick I can come up with for either of them. So, yeah, since one had one nitpick and one didn't, Inuyasha gets it for me. Gav?
I was gonna say Inuyasha because I just like the arts in Inuyasha better, so... It's just, like, more nostalgic for me, and it's, like, very nice and soft, and, like, I like that look, so...
Well, it looks like Inuyasha gets the yay for animation. Sound and dubbing. Who's taking this one? Just Chibi? Yeah.
So, for sound and dubbing, they both have really good scores. As far as the dubbing is concerned, I admittedly did have, like, a caveat for each. One was obviously me not thinking Travis Willingham's voice worked with Mustang's face, but again, that could be just a thing that I would just really need to get used to, because it's just not a voice that I would normally think of to go with that face. And then the complaint that I had for Inuyasha was just like Kagome's voice a little bit at the beginning, doing like the monologue thing, was just a little bit deep, and I didn't feel like that portion of the voice acting worked with the face, but the rest of it did. Jeez. It really just all comes down to like how I feel that the voice fits, which admittedly is really nitpicky. I guess I would give it to Inuyasha, mostly just cause, like, even though the character had, like, Kagome had, like, the one instance where I didn't feel like the voice fit, it fit for the rest of it, whereas Mustangs I feel like I just really need to get used to, because I'm not used to it yet. Even though, like, Fullmetal Alchemist does have a very good cast, like, I felt like everyone else's voice fit them pretty well. So yeah.
Yeah, I like the background music for both shows. I liked Kaide's voice, and I liked Inuyasha's voice a lot. I really didn't get much out of Kagome's voice actress. Not that she was bad, but I just thought it was okay. But yeah, the cast of Brotherhood to me is just so entertaining to me. Like you got, again, controversy aside, you have Vic Mignogna doing a pretty entertaining role as Edward. You have all the other side characters that make their presence known mainly through their voice actors. I think they do a good job of setting the tone and characterization for a lot of them. I'm not going to fanboy over Christopher Sabat any more than I already did, but yeah, the rest of the cast do a good job of at least getting a basic understanding of them so far. So yeah, I'm going to give the edge to Brotherhood.
Yeah, that's kind of my thinking as well. Inuyasha had good stuff, but the other one has a very stacked cast that really is putting in their all. And yeah, I found myself like enjoying the lines sometimes just a little bit more in Fullmetal Alchemist sometimes. It's a little bit more of just like, yeah, it just kind of got outcasted a little bit for that. So I'm gonna go Fullmetal Alchemist as well.
This is a tough one. I think I'm gonna go with Inuyasha because I like the voices in both shows, but like I like the score in Inuyasha a lot. Like I think the score is very, very nice in Inuyasha. So being that I like that more in one show than the other, then I'm gonna pick the one that, you know, has my favor in that, so I'm picking Inuyasha.
All tied up.
Yeah, I was really hoping this wouldn't happen because I feel like the dubs are almost equal for me in these shows. I really actually enjoyed both of these dubs, and it's very hard to choose. But I've been thinking about it, and I think I lean towards Inuyasha on this. I can't exactly explain why, but I think the voice is just...
Because there's no Vic.
Maybe that's why. No. But, I don't know. It just, like, worked for me, and I felt like, I don't know, the performances were good, and there was just something very, like, I don't know, nice about the sound of it, so I'm just gonna go with it.
Well, Inuyasha takes sound and dubbing. Envy Take us into openings and endings.
I mean, I'm gonna make mine pretty quick. I mean, I don't remember the ED that well for Inuyasha. I thought the opening, visually wise, was pretty good, but the song kind of peaked in its first 5 to 10 seconds to me. But the Brotherhood OP and ED I thought were really good. I like the visuals and songs for both. So yeah, my vote is for Brotherhood.
Yeah, I'm kind of going along the same thoughts. I didn't really remember that much about either the opening or the ending from Inuyasha, but I remember both of Fullmetal Alchemists, so I'm gonna go Fullmetal Alchemist on it.
I liked Fullmetal Alchemist's like opening and ending better than Inuyasha's opening. I mean, I like Inuyasha's ending, but I think like the fact that I like both for Fullmetal Alchemist and only the one for Inuyasha, I'd have to give it to Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yeah, not that it matters at this point, but I would have given it to Fullmetal Alchemist as well.
Same.
Oh boy, we're all tied
This is
up.
the first.
Fullmetal
time.
Alchemist gets a yay.
This is the first time in the 7 weeks that we've been doing this that we're tied 3-3 going into the final round.
No, it is not. First week, One Piece versus Fairy Tail. Yeah, it was all tied.
Was it? I thought it was like.
But this is for good reasons.
Yeah, One Piece won plot, characters, world building. Fairy Tail won art, animation, sound dubbing, and opening ending. It came down to final thoughts. It's coming down to final thoughts today.
Oh.
And I'm starting us off. So final thoughts. Ultimately, it's a combination of everything that we've seen, and the bigger question of do we want to continue watching? I wouldn't mind continuing watching either. But for me right now, the one that I'm more interested in seeing more of is Fullmetal Alchemist. And I think that's because part of what I was saying whenever I was talking about the plot, I feel like there's so much going on here. I feel like the world is already very rich, and I want to explore it more. I want to explore Inuyasha's as well, because I feel like it's very well established too, but I feel like full package, Fullmetal Alchemist established probably the most well-rounded universe for me to jump into, and I want to see more of it. So I'm gonna go Fullmetal Alchemist.
See, when I was watching both of these shows, like, the one that, for me, where I was like, oh, I want to keep watching more, was Inuyasha. So, and plus, like, Inuyasha is just, like, such a, like, it's, like, nostalgia trip for me. And, I don't know, like, I liked it a lot, and, like, when I watched that, like, a couple days ago compared to, by a couple days ago, I mean, like, what, Tuesday night? Compared to, like, Wednesday night where I watched Fullmetal Alchemist, I was, like, finding myself wanting to, like, watch more Inuyasha after the initial 3 episodes, whereas, like, with Fullmetal Alchemist, I was like, I could, like, watch something else now and be fine, so I guess I, would say Inuyasha has my attention more, so I'm gonna say Inuyasha for those. But I like to watch both, but yeah, I feel like I want to watch Inuyasha more.
I'm honestly going to pass because I actually felt equally like I would continue watching these, so pass.
Okay.
So mine also basically boils down to what Gav said. It really has to do with nostalgia and how much I, after watching 3 episodes, wanted to continue watching it. So I would go for Inuyasha for this one, mostly just because, like, don't know. As far as, like, while Fullmetal Alchemist does have a lot going on in the plot, or at least the end goal is interesting, like, I find myself far more drawn to Inuyasha, even though, like, the world isn't quite as established, and it's all just sort of, like, very much, like, time travel fantasy. Like, I don't know, I just find it, like, real whimsical, and sometimes I just really want that. For, like, my media that I consume. So, yeah, I'll give it to Inuyasha.
Yeah, I find both shows interesting, and I wouldn't mind watching either. But I'm kind of gonna, like, in the past weeks, me and Yin were on the same wavelengths. I'm gonna go with Al's wavelength earlier. I think out of both shows, I'm more interested to continue watching Brotherhood. So. Yeah, and that means you're the final tiebreaker for the final
You are deciding
tiebreaker.
the entire thing.
Really?
It
literally all
this
comes down
is-
to your choice. No pressure.
No, I can't stand it.
It's what happens when you pass. It feels like every time someone does a pass, they're the deciding vote.
Right? I shouldn't have passed. But it's so close for me because I think in actuality, I am interested in both of them equally. Like, totally equally. So, I feel like any choice I make is gonna be sort of like almost not real. Like, it's just a forced choice, but... And maybe I'm feeling a little bit more curious about Inuyasha because I haven't seen the rest of it, like, in order, but I have seen Fullmetal Alchemist. At the same time, I don't know if that's fair because, like, we are supposed to be judging on these 3 episodes, so I'm trying to take that out of the picture in terms of my curiosity about Inuyasha. But I don't know, I can't ignore that I do feel maybe slightly more curious about continuing that one, so I'm gonna go with my gut, even though it's totally arbitrary, and just say Inuyasha.
Inuyasha takes the day over Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Honestly, I did not expect that.
I did not expect that either, but hey, here we are.
I'm sorry, I just had to choose
No,
something.
I mean, it's your choice.
Hey, you made a call, and it was based on your gut. And so, honestly, if you can't trust your gut, I don't know what you can trust in this world.
Nothing.
So, Inuyasha wins this week over Fullmetal Alchemist. You know, last week we didn't really have like a gush session because we weren't super connected to either of these either of the series, but I feel like we've seen Fullmetal Alchemist a little bit more. So, who would like to talk about Fullmetal Alchemist a little bit?
I've never seen either show. This is my first experience in the
Well, damn.
in the Fullmetal Alchemist universe, so I can't help you there, Chief.
Neither
Okay.
can I.
Honestly, I do think Fullmetal Alchemist is an amazing show, and I think it does just keep getting better. So like I'm not gonna say like too much about it, but I would recommend that everybody watches Brotherhood. And like I mean, I like the original Fullmetal Alchemist too, but I actually think the fact that Brotherhood stays like closer to the manga, like it really does great things for it. I mean, it's an amazing story. So like, even though we're going with Inuyasha, everyone should watch Brotherhood because it is really great.
Yeah, it is really good. I'm trying to think, what were like some of my favorite? Like, first off, like all the openings and endings,
Yeah.
really good. Doesn't seem to dip in quality when it comes to story. Let's see here. Character development is good. The plot takes twists and turns all over the place. The villains are cool. Oh, trying to think here. Even like, it's like one of those things where I want to talk about a bunch of things, but I also don't want to spoil things if people haven't seen it yet. And I'm assuming like you guys haven't seen it, so it's like I want you guys to watch it too. Ugh. God, Bradley's cool. He's evil, but he's cool. He is evil. We know that, but God, he's cool. Oh, everyone's cool in this. It's so cool in that show.
Yeah. It's really good. And it pained me to have to pick between the two because I think they both start out great. And that was painful.
Well, you made your decision. It's all your fault. Attack them in the comments section. No, don't attack them in the comments
Please
section.
don't
This is a
attack
combination
me.
of things. You know, I feel like, and I think this kind of goes to like some other stuff, because like we've watched a couple shows past, you know, that have lost. Like I know you and me watched Blue Exorcist and Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah. So
you know,
watch Brotherhood.
For the most part, all of the shows that we've been watching are good in one way, shape,
Yeah.
or form. Some just had a better like opening volley than others. So
Right, but that doesn't actually mean that the whole show
no.
is
I'm
Yeah.
sure
necessarily
Inuyasha
bad.
is also very good. We're gonna get to see more of it, but yeah. So watch some more Inuyasha for when it comes up against whoever's gonna win next week, and watch Brotherhood. Heck, watch the original show. Both of them seem to be. I haven't seen the original show, and I want to watch it now.
It's good as well, in my opinion.
I'm interested to see where they deviate. So there's that. But yeah, so Inuyasha wins. It will go on to fight the winner of next week's competition, which will be our last initial round of fighting. And our contenders are two fucking heavyweights. If we're gonna be honest here. We got Attack on Titan versus Dragon Ball Z. What the fuck? I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, man. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already... Shit, I forgot to say that we're going to watch the original 1996 dub of Dragon Ball Z that was made by the Ocean Group and Saban. It isn't available on most streaming services, so we dropped a link to a playlist from the Internet Archive in the description if you haven't seen that version. Okay, we're good. Roll the outro. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like, and if you haven't already, check out some of our previous episodes, our daily gaming videos, or our parody series Madoka Magically Abridged. See you next time!